Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome back to a brand new week on Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us as we get into skepticism and the topics that we love. Robert Kalil from the Typical Skeptic Podcast is here tonight. And the best part about it, we have all of you. Thank you for coming on in as we got Race Fan in the gold medal position and B with the silver. Michael Morris taking home the bronze medal tonight. And hello, Laura Lobbs, Dino Bravo, Chris 716. Hi, Kathy Evans, James Horn. It's been a while. Robert Lamoth, Jimmy Gonzalez, and Lightwalkers. Good to see you all. Tim Mothman and his goatee. Puck Elf, Les Paul Holland. What's happening? Don Rogers, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Paramarv. Sandy B, how you doing? Sandy B will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Good evening, Dragonfly. Sim YT, welcome to SOR Chat. Roy Boy, how's it going? Flat 6. Wildman's Mom, how you doing? And where are we here on our list? Let's scroll on down. And Paul Demon, how you doing? Samantha Hazelwood Gray, nice to see you. And SG Nav Spotter, good to have you back. Continuing on with our roll call, there's Luscious Jules. How you doing? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And the Doug Shelby will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Nick Adkins, how you doing? Good to see you. Scrolling on down. Hi, T-Bone. The lovely and talented Kira. Nice to see you. Xochitl Paez Richards. Good to have you back. Yes, we love you around here. Scrolling on down. Who else do we got? Oh, there he is. Number 4 in your program, starting at left defense from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. How you doing, Lars? Good morning to you. Scrolling on down. Eternity Eternal. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you around here. Marty Burback, Stargazer. How you guys doing? Little Cam over on Twitch. Good to see you. And who else is here? Gizmo, my man. What's happening? Who's on Facebook? Let's take a peek here. Mm-hmm. We have Ozzy Ange and Tim Mothman and Tim Mothman's goatee. Look at that. Look at that. All right, let's continue on. MT, welcome to SOR Chat. W. David Page, good to see you. And who else is here? Rich Buddy. Jennifer Patterson, nice to have you here. Angel Wings, welcome to SOR Chat. And scrolling on down, let's see here. SOS QHD, how you doing? Nice to see you again. John Doe, first time in months. Glad to have you back. Operation Shutdown, nice to have you here. Mark Eddy, nice to have you back. Let's see here. Super Knower, what's happening? Nina Williams, how are you? Let's continue on. Woo Trainer or Woo Train Rider, how you doing? Algoray over on Twitch, good to see you. Hi, Thomas Rock, Thomas Robinson, welcome to SOR Chat. And where are we here? Scrolling down. Mama Susan, thank you for coming on in. And I think we're caught up. Oh, there's Matthew Goodcutt. He's like, don't forget about me. I'm here. All right, there you go. Let's start the radio side. We welcome everybody listening to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get into all the stories of the skepticism behind them from the Typical Skeptic Podcast. Robert Kalil is with us. We're in roll call right now, and we say hello to Wildberry. Thank you for coming on in, and that's about it. Reminder to everybody, if you're on the YouTube side, the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, and where else are we here? You can do some shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. We actually have clothing you're going to want to wear out in public and not be embarrassed by it. Jaden, how you doing? Good to see you. So, yeah, go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website. David Hayworth, thanks for coming on in. And, yeah, I'm ready for this show. I hope you guys are too, because it's that time of the night where I say, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of storytelling tonight. Robert Kalil from the Typical Skeptic Podcast is with us. So we're going to get into everything that we normally do on this show. Yeah, we're going to turn that woo up because that's what we do best. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton is here with another creepy story from Among the Missing. And Courtney Marani is back from assignment on the East Coast as we have her back for the UFO Report. Let's get to it, shall we? Robert Kalil is the host of the Typical Skeptic Podcast based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This man loves a good Permani sandwich. He told me himself. Robert is a popular podcaster on YouTube, Rumble, and other platforms, and he runs a non-biased exploration of ufology, secret space, and hidden history. Robert has extensive experience looking into the paranormal, UFO phenomena, hidden history, and the nature of reality. He also does research about conspiracy topics, such as uncovering the cabal and the Illuminati. It's his first time here on Spaced Out Radio. Very glad to have him here. Robert, welcome to SOR. We're going to get into a good show tonight. Thanks for being here.
Wow, Dave, I'm really excited. I just want to say, I've been a fan for a long time, and that intro pumps me up so much. It's very Art Bell-esque, you know what I mean? Like especially how you say you own the night. You do, I kind of feel like you're taking over from where Art Bell left off,
Oh, those are way too big shoes to fill, but that's okay. Thank you for the love. I appreciate the love very, very much. And all we try and do is a good podcast, radio show, and YouTube channel. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it works, and that's all that really matters, I guess. But good to have you here, my friend. And let's be honest. What's your favorite Permani sandwich?
Oh man, I love the capicola. If I'm going, and for people that don't know about Permani's, and Permani's is here in Pittsburgh. It's a popular sandwich, and the whole thing is it's not very complicated. They just put fries and coleslaw on, whatever your favorite meat is. So like the best ones are the steak and cheese for sure, and then the capicola. They're good. They're real good. Yeah.
I've actually had one. I have. And damn it, that's a good sandwich, man. That's a real good sandwich. Never
Yeah.
go with it. Never go wrong with it. Capicola. If I ever get back to Pittsburgh, I will definitely try that for
Yeah.
sure. How did you get started in this field? What drove you to start the Typical Skeptic podcast?
Well, I mean, it goes back to, like I said, I was a huge fan of Art Bell. So I guess I always had an interest in like ufology and like the paranormal and like what things like we couldn't explain. So, so back in like 2001 and 1999, I was, driving around and at night, I would go late night, I would end up at the Waffle House and I'd be listening to Art Bell and me and my friends, and we would love all the topics that he had. And like, and then, what happened was I kind of got away from it, and in 2016, I had like what you would call a reawakening. And I watched a video by Matt LaCroix, and it was the battle of the eagle versus the serpent about the Anunnaki. And when I saw it, it like floored me. I was like, wait a minute, like, how is this possible that like we're not being told the truth about our history? And what if this was possible? And I had a lot of questions for him right away, and I actually emailed him that day, and he started explaining things to me. And like from then on, I went down like multiple rabbit holes on everything from like the exploration of consciousness to OBEs, NDE, out of body experiences, near death experiences, what happens when we die, ufology, UFOs, secret space program, targeted individuals, military abductions, alien abductions. I used to love like researching all the old abduction cases, obviously like hidden history. So, and then when in 2020 hit and all that stuff happened, I decided to start a podcast. And, at first I was just posting videos about like what I was learning about the Anunnaki and stuff. And then it turned into me starting interviewing people. And then it kind of just took off, So that's kind of how it came into fruition.
Yeah, I mean, you took on a difficult subject because there are so many podcasts and radio shows and YouTube channels among this that the topics are quite thin. But I mean, you found a different angle. You call yourself the typical skeptic, what I think attracts people. But the fact is, you're a skeptic with an open mind. That's a rarity. How do you use that oxymoron to your benefit?
Well, here's what I think. I think like skepticism gets a bad name. I think like most of the people that are saying they're skeptics, they're really acting like cynical. You know what I mean? I think to be skeptical, it means you're just questioning things, but like you should have an open mind. But I feel like when we deal with some of these topics, like especially like ufology and secret space program, like just like I said, targeted individuals, alien abductions, Bigfoot, cryptids, like we have to have an open mind because I feel like anything's possible. And I want to believe. I'm one of those people. I should have a shirt that says I want to believe because I do want to believe. But at the same time, I just try to use a little bit of discernment. But also, just to back up on that, I don't give any pushback on my interviews. Like when someone comes on my show, I just treat them with kindness, and I give them like a safe place, because a lot of times I'll be having like, well, not a lot of times, but some of the time I'll have like a targeted individual or someone who's had a military abduction or someone in the secret space program, and I want to hear their story. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's important to get that out, because whatever's going on in humanity right now, things are changing a lot. Like it seems like we're in like a mass awakening, and like everything's changing. Like people's psychic abilities are opening up. People are becoming healers. People are having more paranormal experiences. People are having more UFO experiences. I guess contact. It's amazing times. I always say it might be the most amazing time to be alive, I think, but with the back to what you said, I just feel like I need to be skeptical, but open-minded. I think that's the best way. And I think most of the people that are saying they're skeptical are actually being cynical, and they're trying to shut stuff down without actually researching it or having an open mind about it.
Well, and I think that's a big thing, because skepticism today has really become opinion. If you don't believe it, it doesn't exist, or it didn't happen, or that person is a liar. I mean, I think skepticism has gone way too far at times, and it's really pushed the limits of of what being skeptical is all about. Look, as a multiple experiencer that I am, I've been skeptical of everything. I've always looked for the outlets of what things may be, but sometimes you just have to accept the answer for what it is.
I agree. I agree. And again, having a bit like a real open mind about this stuff, because I think once you start to experience things for yourself, you realize that it's now a reality. And a lot of times when you open yourself up to these topics, I always say I can never go back to living a normal life again, because I mean, but a lot of the conspiracies that we say are conspiracies are actually reality when you look into them. So, it's like, but then also at the same time, I feel like we have to have discernment, right? Because we can't believe everything we hear. We have to have some discernment, but to what's the expense though, right? So, because we don't want to be closed-minded and shut things down, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's exactly what it is. And we can't keep shutting and closing the doors. I mean, I look at somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, there's a guy who's a brilliant astrophysicist. You don't get to the position that he's in if you're a dummy like us, who are podcasting. I mean, but his actions towards the UFO community and his fellow scientists is really one of arrogance, in my opinion. You could tell that he hasn't looked into any of the evidence that is out there, and he's telling people to be non-believers of the subject when he has alone not done any research. So, I mean, there is a point of I could see where skepticism is transitioning into something a little bit more naive and cruel at times.
Yeah, there's a couple more people that I can think of off the top of my head that are kind of like that. Well, I mean, there's Joe Rogan, right? I consider him. I'm on the fence about him. I've been watching his podcast for a long time because I was always into like mixed martial arts and stuff like that. But some of the things he says about the UFO phenomenon, I disagree with, and he has such a huge platform. I don't think he should put that out there. Like, for example, when he had on Diana Walsh Pasulka the other day, or maybe it was like a week ago or something, they were talking about alien abductions. And he was saying that most of these abductions happen at night. And right away, I was like, I disagree, because we know from history that a lot of abductions and contact can happen in the day. It can happen anytime. It's not limited to night. And then he was like trying to infer that, a lot of this is coming from, DMT or the dream state, which I do realize that like abductions and contact can happen in the astral. But I think a lot of people are having, really physical experience as well.
Yeah, trust me, I'm one of them, but I mean, it's something that, we have to, in my opinion, we can't push science away, but I think that we have to find a happy medium between the experiencers who are having these incredible encounters. It's not just aliens, it's with everybody else as well, and it's paranormal, it's cryptid world, it's out of body experiences, it's near death experiences, it's connecting to the consciousness, maybe it's reincarnation. I mean, we sit here and we say we want all of this to happen, but I mean, at what point do we start to work together here, man?
Yeah, I agree. That's what I say on my channel. I think, what I've noticed being in this community, or whatever you want to call it, the UFO community, the conspiracy community, truther, consciousness, whatever you want to label it. I've dealt with people in different sections of it, and I've noticed a lot of infighting, like especially in the UFO community. I'm sure you've witnessed this too. I've been in situations where I've posted an interview with someone, and I've had fans of another person attack me for posting that interview. And I was like, what? This is crazy. I had to take it down. And then I noticed there's like infighting in the community about who's right about this and who's right about this. And this person's denying somebody else's experience. I was like, why can't we? And so like what I try to do, Dave, is kind of like what you try to do. I try to have people from all walks of life, anything esoteric, anything paranormal. I want to cover it on my show. You know what I mean? So I try not to single out anybody or You know what I'm trying to, and I don't know why people are fighting like that. And there's such a difference of opinion, because we know the people that rule the planet, or whoever they are very organized, and they work in a very structural way. So if we, the people who are coming up against the corruption, could unite, it would probably help us a lot. But we have a lot of infighting. It seems so, right?
Okay, Typical Skeptic Podcast, you deal with conspiracies as well. Let's have some fun here right off the bat. How much fun did you have with the Taylor Swift Super Bowl conspiracy?
Yeah, I was watching Donut today. I like that guy. You know, I don't know enough about it, to be honest, but like, you know, I was watching an interview with Gerald Clark. Remember Gerald Clark, rest in peace. And oh, by the way, I just looking at your chat, and so that kind of threw me off. Somebody just said R.I.P. John Yost. I hope that's not true. I know John Yost. He was from Alien Abduction Answers. I interviewed him twice. He was fighting cancer. I know I donated to his GoFundMe. If he died, that I know he was suffering. That would really be horrible.
Yeah, I was going to save that for the next half hour, but yeah, John Yost, former guest on this show and a very good friend of mine, passed away of cancer earlier today. He'd been fighting it for about a year here. I got to meet John last year in San Francisco at UFO Con, and that was my first time meeting him. And him and I had just a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and hanging out and chatting about UFOs and making fun of everybody we could find. I mean, he was one of the funniest men I've met in a long time, and it's sad to see him go. But you know, the good part about it is he's not hurting anymore. And
he was from Pittsburgh. He was from my city.
Yeah, and he had a very, very aggressive form of cancer that he tried to beat both through medicine and alternative medicine. And for a while there, it seemed like he was improving. But unfortunately, that demon we call cancer got the better of him. So God bless him, and rest in peace, John Yost.
What did you think of his film? I loved it. I've had Deb Shakti on my show. She was in that, and it's just like a great portrayal for the experiencer, you know, and the abduction phenomena. You know, I love the way he kind of covered the movie. You know, it was done with a lot of class. So, you know, I hope people would go watch that and kind of give tribute to him. You know, he was a good guy. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up.
It's an important topic. It really is. And John's video about his alien abduction, and you know what he went through and the emotions that did. I think it was one of the best that actually captured the emotion and reality of what people go through in those moments. And not only did he describe his throughout the movie, but he also in between added experiences from other people. And I would highly recommend it. I don't recommend a lot of documentaries. You know, like I've done a bunch of voiceovers for documentaries, and you don't hear me saying, hey, go see this so you can hear my voice. No, nothing like that. But John's is one I would highly recommend. And I believe it is on Amazon and Tubi TV, and highly worth watching to hear his incredible story. Well, the good part about it is John has all the answers now. And yeah, it's a sad time for our field of ufology here for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of like being an experiencer, I've been told that I'm an experience. People have told me that I've been abducted. I've been told that I'm in a secret space program, but I have no evidence of this. So I'm not sure yet, but I'm looking into it. I've been regressed 7 times. I've done 7, maybe 8. My friend Maya's in the chat. Shout out to SOSQHT. She's done 8 regressions on me. Or right, I've done them with other people too. But I haven't looked into that yet. But what I was going to say was I had something really interesting happen to me. I've been trying to have an out-of-body experience every night. Like I use the Robert Monroe Hemi-Sync binaural beats, or I'll use some other kind of binaural beat. And you know, I had a different girlfriend at the time. I was trying to connect with her, and so what happened was on the night of December 31st, and then also December 14th, I still have this on my phone. I fell asleep with my phone in my pocket. Okay. And I have a Faraday bag, so I'm not worried about the radiation. So I keep a Faraday bag around it. But because I want to have my headphones on because I'm using the binaural beats. Well, I noticed that when I woke up, my step counter said that I went 150 million steps, that I went 60,000 miles, and I was going 6,000 miles per hour. And I showed people this, and what was interesting was my friends did a QHHT session the night before, and they said they saw me in the session. They said that I showed up in their session. I had went to bed at 10 o'clock. So I have no proof of this, Dave. I mean, and me being the skeptic, but I just think it's interesting. You know what I mean? Like, and then it happened again on December 14th. Again, my step counter said, when I woke up, it said 13 million steps. Now, I realized that technology can be faulty, but also it never did that for any other day. So I'm wondering if I was taken or if I went and had an astral experience somewhere that if I connected to someone. I was trying to connect with my girlfriend at the time. So who knows? It's a mystery, but it's an interesting mystery for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I think you may have some aliens there, man. You may have some aliens, and that's not a bad thing. We all got a little bit of aliens in our life, and if you haven't yet, well, just beware. You never know when they're going to come around. I mean, where did you get those stats from that you'd done so many steps and were so many miles away?
Yeah, it's strange, right? And then I also have
where did you get those stats?
It's just from it's in an app on the Android. It's called Pedometer. So it's just like a step counter or a pedometer. And
Right.
it's tracking my steps no matter what. Anytime I have my phone on me, it's tracking my steps. So that night I fell asleep with my phone in my pocket, because I was listening to the Hemisync binaural beats, and it picked up something. I don't know what it picked up, but I just think that's odd because it was like that in the morning, and then it happened again one other time, which is strange. It's I don't know what to think of it. And then I've woken up with bruises on me at times, and I also have some kind of spirit in my studio here, which is, I don't know how much you believe in ghosts, but I have a spirit that keeps coming around here and like causing issues, but it's like it's very friendly. It's strange. Like it's you're gonna laugh at this. So when I would lay down at night, something started touching me, and I thought it was weird, and then I told people on my show this. It felt at first like a paranormal shiatsu because I felt like I was being massaged, and I have a lot of friends who are energy healers. So I said, well, maybe someone's doing some energy work on me. But usually, if someone's doing energy work on me, they'll tell me. They'll say, hey, I'm sending some energy work your way, or I'm doing Reiki on you, or whatever. No one told me anything. So then it kept happening, and there were times where I had to like jump up out of my bed, and I was like, stop, because it was freaking me out. And then my girlfriend at the time tried to clear it out of here, and then it came back. The other night I was sleeping, and my arm was falling off the side, and something grabbed my arm and pulled it right back up, like very weirdly. So it's nothing really harmful, but the bruises are alarming. That could be something else tied to an abduction. I'm not sure, So I have a lot of questions, but no answers.
Well, that's going to be the big one is that we all look for is what are the answers? What is truly going on, whether it's alien abduction or, ghosts interrupting our sleep in the middle of the night. I mean, we had on Saturday night around my house, I was watching a movie. It was probably about 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, all the power went out of my house. But my TV wasn't affected. And the lights turned back on. And then one other set of lights turned off and on right in front of us. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. What are the answers? The $1 million question, my man. The $1 million question as we head off into break here in about 20 seconds. I mean, geez, do we really know? Will we find out?
I don't know. I feel like the more podcasts I do, I'm up to, I think I'm at episode 1071 I've done. And I have more questions than I have answers. I'm left with a lot of questions about what our reality is. And I can get into that after the break. I've done DMT, and I've had some experiences with that might interest you. And and mushrooms too, in a respectful way.
All right. Well, let's get into it when we return. Robert Kalil, host of the Typical Skeptic Podcast and YouTube channel. We're just having a fun conversation tonight about all us weirdos having these experiences. Keep your tinfoil close on Spaced Out Radio next. All right, we are clear. I just want to give a shout out because there's a number of your listeners who are in our chat room tonight for the first time and may not really know or understand what we do. We are a combination of a live YouTube show, a live podcast, as well as a live radio show. So we have to take commercial breaks to time everything out to our radio stations. So that is what we do. And so you get the behind the scenes of what we talk about and how boring we really are. So, no, I'm teasing. Hi, Tokeland. How you doing? So, hi, David Lopez. I'm doing good. Thank you. Yeah, it's just the way we do things around here. It's a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell because we are literally here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Yeah, there we go. Now I can breathe.
I'm having fun. I think it went well the first, little bit. I was nervous, but I mean, it's really interesting. How about John Yost? I can't believe that. I'm so sad. I feel really bad.
Yeah, John Yost, a good guy. Hold on one second. Mwah! To Mama's Catherine, who's come into the chat room. Mario Andrew, welcome to SOR chat. How are you doing? Yeah, John was just hilarious. And it's funny because I get hit up by charities, like people having charities all the time. Can you post my GoFundMe? Can you do this? Can you do that? And 99% of the time I say no, just because if you do it for one, you have to do it for all,
Yeah.
And with the format that we have, thank you, W. Decker. With the format that we have, it's difficult to be able to accommodate that. But with John Yost, I did do it, and I'm very happy that I did. But dude, he was so funny. He was so funny at UFO Con, and it was like meeting an old friend for the first time. And Kira from who's in the chat room, her and her husband Mark were there with me in San Francisco, and they got to know John very well as well, and we all just had such a great time with him, and he's definitely going to be missed, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's I like I said, I only got to interview him, but I mean I love that film, Alien Abduction Answers. Like it was it was real telling about like the phenomena. That was one of the things that always drew me to. Maybe that's why I feel like maybe I'm an experiencer, because I feel like sometimes I'm so drawn to the alien abduction thing. When I saw Whitley Strieber's Communion, it just kind of, I don't know what it's hard to explain. Like it's, I'm so drawn to it. And then I got into the work of like Bud Hopkins and David Jacobs. I love them. I have Bud Hopkins witness, or what is it? I'm trying to think. It was the one about the woman Linda Corteil who gets abducted out of her window in New York City by the gray aliens. But there's like political people involved, and that's a good book. And then I got to meet Deborah Jordan Cobble. I'm sure you've had her on your show. She's an amazing lady, and she was I'm having a brain fart now. That she was the main character for one of Bud Hopkins' books, and I thought that was amazing. And then I kind of got into the work of David Jacobs too, and I like David Jacobs, but I also like Barbara Lamb, and I like what Richard Dolan said when he thought it was interesting that like David Jacobs got a lot of people who claimed they were abductees who didn't want anything to do with the phenomena, but Barbara Lamb would somehow get the contactees, where the people were having more positive experiences. I wonder if that has something to do with the hypnotist or just the kind of people that kind of flock to them. I've always found that fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's whatever comes out. I mean, I got regressed a couple of years ago in San Francisco by Geraldine Orozco, and it's pretty weird what comes out of that. I'd never been regressed. I'd definitely do it again to find out, but I wanted to know because I know I'd been taken on craft. I just didn't know how many times. I still don't know how many times, but she brought up cases that I didn't even know of. But 1 second, because we only got 20 seconds left. Thank you to Gizmo, Kira, and W. Decker for the awesome super chats tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on our show here. And do us a favor. Go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. You can actually wear our stuff out in public and be thankful that you did. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate turning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go again with Robert Kalil. He is the host of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. We're just having a lot of fun, too. Podcast radio hosts hooking up, talking about the topics du jour. Throwing a little en français there. Robert, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me back. I was gonna talk a little bit about my experiences of the DMT and mushrooms. I'll start off by saying this, a lot of these medicines, they're plant medicines and they are beneficial for us. They're very beneficial for us, but they have to be used in a responsible way, and you should do a lot of research before you jump into something like this, because you can have a bad trip. It could go really bad. And, so you have to just use it responsibly. Well, I'll say that before I get into it. So I've had experiences with DMT and mushrooms, and it's weird what it'll show you. It's very strange. I've talked to Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News. He's a big proponent for plant medicine as well. He was just talking about his experiences the other day on my show. But what happened to me specifically is when I did the DMT, I didn't happen what you would call a complete breakthrough. Like, I wasn't in another dimension talking to entities, but I was very close. What the DMT shows you is possibly the holographic reality of what our world is, but I think it's more complicated than that, because what I want to be is I want to be a consciousness explorer. So it's not even about just using the plant medicines. It's about doing the astral projection and meditation and studying remote viewing and anything psi related. I love psi, I love studying any telekinesis, psychokinesis, ESP, clairvoyance, and all the clairs. And I have different psychics on my show every week too. But what happened with the DMT was I took a couple of hits of it, and then all of a sudden I closed my eyes, before I closed my eyes, I started to see geometric patterns around me. Like, it was very strange. Like, you automatically start to see geometric patterns. Then you close your eyes and you start to see these beings. That's all I can say. What that reminded me of was like something you would see on a Joker card, And then from what I remember, as it was wearing off, everything looked weird. Everything looked like fake or holographic to me. And I had never witnessed that before. And I started to think, I was like, what is this reality we're living in? It's very strange. I don't know if whoever designed this world, it's a very strategically made biological matrix that we maybe come here and interact with for learning purposes. And maybe we keep coming back. And I guess the regressions teach us that, in past lives. And So yeah, I have a lot of questions about that. And I'll just tell you real quick before the experience I had on mushrooms was profound. So I took mushrooms and I did it very responsibly and very ceremoniously. But I was also dealing with a lot of depression at the time. So when I took the
Right.
mushrooms, like at first, like nothing happened. So I laid down, and when I laid down, if they talk about the Kundalini experience, it felt like like a buzzer, like an escalator went off on my back. You know, how an escalator starts buzzing and it goes up. Well, all of a sudden, energy started rushing up my back. Like it was amazing. And then I had my eyes closed, and in my eyes closed, I saw the image of like a serpent going up, and then energy came out of my chest into my pineal gland and exploded into like the ether. It was fascinating. Like now, what I said was, is this real, or is it, the skeptical part of me is like, what just happen? I told people what happened. They said it could be a little bit close to a Kundalini experience, but I just want to explore consciousness. I feel like consciousness is the biggest gift we have. It's like, it's an amazing, I don't know. It makes me wonder, like, why are we here? What is the whole purpose? So I guess you could say I'm a consciousness explorer.
I love that idea. Consciousness explorer, man. I mean, the mind is something that it can play tricks on you. It's not 100% accurate. It changes things. I mean, how did you get a hold of your mind in order to do this and know that these experiences were happening?
I mean, I guess it was just all happening like at the time, you know what I mean? I guess you don't think about it, it's strange. And then I guess you go into it knowing that something's going to happen. You go into it knowing that something's going to happen. But I've also had, cause I wanted to microdose mushrooms because I've heard that they can help build more neural pathways in the brain. And I heard it's very healing, but I've also had bad experiences where I wasn't prepared for it correctly. And it was a horrible experience. Like, it makes you feel bad, depressed, down. You're like, why did I do this? So there can be but what I learned from that, and there's a big learning experience. When I had Chris on my show, he agreed with me from Forbidden Knowledge News. He agreed. He said the mushrooms will always teach you something. And that's really important, because what happened was, that day that I took them and it was bad and I was really depressed, I realized that I wasn't living my life right, and that I was making bad decisions in my life. And all that was happening was the mushrooms were showing me that. They'll show you things whether you're prepared for it or not. So it's like, when you go into these experiences, you have to be very responsible and very ready, as much as you can be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've never done it. I've never done either. I don't think I will, because I just, how can I put it?
Well, you're having experiences without it, so you don't need,
Yeah.
I'm not, so you're already having like experiences that you can't explain. So maybe for you, it's easier to connect consciously, whereas me, some people need it, some people don't. I don't know.
You know what? I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, I know people who've done it. Drew Banky, who's a good friend of this show, he's quite the promoter of what the hell is it? Ayahuasca and other supplements like mushrooms, in order to kind of find that spiritual zen and chi. How has that changed your own look at spirituality?
I'm having a hard time figuring out what it is, what our purpose is here. And because, like, sometimes, I feel like we're in a matrix, and like, I feel like we're in like a realm that's based on suffering. Like, if you think about people like that talk, like Howdy Mikowski and a couple other people, they'll say that like this matrix was designed for suffering and stuff like that. But then I see a lot of benevolence to it as well. So it's so hard. It seems like we're in a world of duality, but I'm not sure what that is. I believe in a creator, but I'm not sure what or who that is. I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm trying to figure out what our purpose is here. I guess that's the bigger question. That was one of the reasons why I started my podcast, was I wanted to know what happened to us when we passed away. I wanted to know about the afterlife. And I think, studying consciousness can really, take you to places like that, because you can get into near death experience, out of body experiences, dreams. I think dreams are very telling. And then we obviously have past life regressions. So I love, talking about all that stuff. It's very interesting how someone can have a near death experience and they can see the tunnel and they can see their loved ones, or some people say they go to a school. I've interviewed Rich Martini. Rich Martini's really interesting. He's written books, he calls them all about the flip side. And he talks about that there's a classroom we go to when we pass away, that like where we go and learn stuff. It's like an intermediary place. And I thought this was fascinating. But then you hear some stories of people who have a death experience and they don't see anything. So that's where the skeptical part comes in me. I'm like, well, what is it? Do we see something after this? Do we carry on? A lot of the teachers, the spiritual teachers, will tell you that we're light and we're energy. And if somebody asked me, if they said, do you feel like you have a soul? I would say, hell yeah, I feel like I have a soul. I feel like there's a soul in me. But, I'm just a little bit skeptical, and I'm not sure where that soul goes or what the purpose is of this place. And, it's very hard to explain, but it's interesting for sure. I think it's one of the most interesting things we can talk about, is like, what is our reality and what is our purpose and what's the bigger picture,
Yeah, I've had those same questions, same exact questions. I think many people have. My thing with the phenomena is this. Like I have my own personal spiritual beliefs on what's real and what's not. Is there a God or is there not? I am a God guy, but that's for another night, another topic. But the one thing I will say about it is this: when it comes to the phenomena, I don't know if it's part of God, if it's godly on its own, or what the hell it is, but it sure has a real control of everybody in their lifetime. It controls what we see, what we don't see, what we experience of the supernatural. It tells us when to open up and not and see more than just the daylight in the sky. I think it's cruel, but at the same time very giving at the same time. And it's very hard to explain what the phenomena actually is, but it's out there, and it seems to have a vast control of what we do as humans in humanity.
Yeah, and I was going to say, do you think that phenomena is making certain impressions now because of the society? Like, we're waking up, like everybody's waking up as a society. Like, as I said earlier, like people's psychic abilities are turning on, healing abilities. Like, people are having more paranormal experiences, ET experiences. So it makes me wonder if the phenomena is showing itself and making contact with people for that whole purpose. I wonder if there's a bigger purpose. It really makes me wonder, because I feel like we're in the most amazing time to be alive. I don't think anything like this has ever happened in the history of humanity, as far as like this mass awakening. Do you agree, or we?
You know what? I would agree with you, but I think the phenomena is also trying to tell us something, that we're probably moving too fast as humans. We're not taking the time to smell the roses anymore. We're not taking the time to notice what is out there and what is presented to us, because we're more into our telephones. We're more into um, AI. We're more into advancing technology. And, we don't go camping anymore. We don't go walking through nature anymore. We don't, as a society, take the time to enjoy what Mother Nature has provided for us. Now, there are people who do, but I just think that there's so much more out there. I mean, God, man, I go for a drive in the forest for 2 hours. Just go out in the forest for a relaxing drive to see what kind of wild animals I could see. I come back, I need a nap. Why? All I did was drive through the forest, looking at trees. Maybe getting some dirt on my feet. When you get out, how does that lead me to being absolutely exhausted, and absolutely calm, mind, body, and soul. It's because Mother Nature has that power to do that. The phenomena allows her to.
Yeah, when I had Rock Castaldo on my show the other day, he was talking about he's like a mystic, you know. You should definitely have him on. He's amazing, but he was saying that we definitely need to ground, like the grounding's very important. But then he was saying when you go and you like, I know this sounds funny, but when you hug a tree, you get electrons from it, or when you go out in fresh air, you get electrons from it. So and he said you always need those fresh electrons. I picked that up. I don't know exactly what he means, but
I think that is completely true. Have you ever walked up to it? I'm not a tree hugger by any sense. Okay. I'm not, I am not an environmentalist by any means or anything like that. But I'm telling you, man, if you walk up to a tree and you hug that tree, you can actually feel the love coming back at you. If you go up to a tree and you say, "My God, you're beautiful. Thank you for being here," and you hug it just like you would your child or your dog or your cat, that tree will respond. It is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in feeling that energy coming off the tree, basically saying, "Thank you. I love you too." And that, trust me when I say this, that's without drugs. Okay.
yeah.
That's completely without drugs of any kind, right?
Yeah, well,
But
you know what? One thing I think is really amazing too is like how we can kind of manipulate our reality with like nature. Like when I talk about magic, like I've messed around with like sigils before. Just like not anything dark. Obviously I'm not like that. And obviously this is like dead sober. But I would do sigils. I would mess around with like like simple like salt spells where you're wishing for abundance and stuff like that, and it's worked. And I was like, so what is our reality that we're able to manipulate it? And I wonder why it doesn't work all the time. Like it's like sometimes it works, and because I'm always trying to manifest a better reality, so I listen to a lot of like binaural beats, subliminals, affirmations. I love that kind of stuff. Like I'll put it on at night, and it's either that or Art Bell, but I mean, like, I'll usually put that on, and a lot of times it will like manifest like money for me the next day, and I don't understand how that all works. Maybe it's because we're energy and we can kind of manipulate energy. I'm still learning about all that, but I find it fascinating.
I find it fascinating as well. What's your thoughts on reincarnation?
I think it's very real. I really do. I really do. And like I said, like I have friends like my friend Maya, who's in the chat now. She does the quantum healing hypnosis, and we do sessions together. We do them with a group too sometimes, where a bunch of us will go under. She calls it Cosmic Crusaders, where we'll go in and we'll explore consciousness, where we're going under she's like a supervised QHHT where she's putting us under. But she's put me under, and then other people have put me under hypnosis. And I feel like that was like my best evidence as far as like something else goes on here. And because I've regressed back to weird times, like where I was in Egypt. And then a couple times where I was in wars, and they felt so real. One of the people who regressed me was Terry Lovelace. I'm sure you know him. He wrote The Incident at Devil's Den. Well, he wanted to experiment with hypnosis, so he was learning it from Fiona Harris. So I said, okay, you can regress me. That was like the first or second time I got regressed, and I regressed right back to like 2 wars. One was like, and I almost felt my grandfather was a prisoner of war in World War II. He was captured by the Germans and he was saved by the French. When I regressed, I don't know if it was because I knew that in my mind, but I totally relived what had happened to my grandfather in an experience. Like all of a sudden I was a prisoner of war, and like I was like frail, and I had no it was just everything just seemed so real. It's so hard to explain because then after your regression, sometimes you don't remember all the details. But when you're in it, it feels so real. So it makes me feel like I feel like past life regression is a big way to like see that there's something else going on here. I really do.
Yeah, the question is, what is that something else? Like it all leads down to a simple question. I'm sure you will agree. What is the purpose of life? Where are we supposed to go? Why do some people connect with aliens? Others connect with Sasquatch. Others connect with ghosts. Or some have all connected with all of them. Yet the majority of this planet has not. It's amazing how there is a lot of interesting topics that people will always discuss, but the skeptical ones, as we put it, will always find a way to dodge the topic.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but then lately there's been these channels that like kind of come out and they attack people. Like they'll go out and they'll kind of do hit pieces on people. I don't agree with that. I feel like if you're going to be skeptical, you should voice it, but do it in a respectful way. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, be open minded to what the possibilities are, because I mean, I would never want to hurt someone's feelings. You know what I mean? I just can't do that. And I can't ever like attack someone for their beliefs. And you know what I mean? And I have a lot of friends who are experiencers. I have a lot of friends who are, they've seen cryptids. I have friends who are energy healers. I have friends who are witches. I have friends, from being in this community, I've met so many people that are like, of the experience of things. So if I'm ever skeptical about something, I try to do it in a respectful way, but I'm always open to the possibilities of what there could be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think you have to be too. And I'm not a fan of a lot of those shows either. I mean, to me, that's just for sour grapes people who, can't get an interview for the most part. But it's very weird how serious and angry people can get regarding these topics, man. I mean, I got one critic out there. I'm not going to mention his name because the guy is just not worth, the sweat that trickles down my butt after a workout. Okay. but this guy, but once a month, he'll put out an article about me, about how I'm an embarrassment. What was the term he used? Fecal matter. I am UFO fecal matter. Because I believe in people's experiences.
Yeah, I also feel like I feel like that's horrible. By the way, that's totally not right to do to someone. I mean, like there has to be a better way that people can discuss their, indifferences with people without being like rude and disrespectful. You know what I mean? But like a lot of times people are on the internet, and then when they're they're at home on the internet, they can say anything they want. You know what I mean? There's no precautions, except maybe getting banned from a chat or something like that. But they wouldn't say that to your face. You know what I mean? So I mean,
hey, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, the funny part about it was he complains about how much woo I put on this show. And then he goes and copies my story about a gentleman. David. Why can't I remember his last name right now? Who just collected all the APRO files.
What are the APRO files? Why do I not know that?
APRO is an old UFO group that had a lot of information coming out after the time of the Project Blue Book, and they had a lot of cool information in there, and they got put away because APRO kind of folded, and David went and brought it back out, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you've been in this field for a lot longer than me. Do you feel like the whole disclosure thing is being halted because of the contact? Do you feel like the contact has a big thing to do with like why we're not getting disclosure? Because I have a lot of people that come on my show who are like either abductees or they're MyLabs, and when you have someone that's a MyLab, like they're now saying that like not only are they being abducted by aliens, but now the military's involved. So it makes me think, what are these black ops programs that the military is running? And then, I get people who are also targeted individuals who say that they're being, the government's sending, voice to skull technology and I feel sometimes targeted myself. And then also we have the SSP community where those people are all getting their memories back. And I don't judge anybody. I let them come on and tell their story, but I just wonder what's happening. And I wonder if that's the reason why disclosure is not coming out,
Well, let's talk disclosure when we get back from the break here. Typical Skeptic Podcast host Robert Kalil is with us tonight. We're having a great time. I hope you are too as we continue on. We'll talk disclosure, UFOs, secret space program, all in the next hour. Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. Hi, Michael Fontaine. Marler, thank you. Thank you. I don't know why I had a brain fart on David Marler. Oh, thank you.
Oh, he does the triangle UFOs. He's the triangle UFO guy, right?
Yeah. Wallet Moth, how you doing? Good to see you. Jealous of your manliness and all the powerful beard. Oh, thank you. Philip Blair, nice to see you. Hey, I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and I'll be back in a couple minutes, okay? We got about 5.5 minutes.
So I can go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Be right back. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Stay comfy. Don't go anywhere. We're getting into the good woo next. All right. I am back. I hope you are too. All right. You having a good time, everybody? Let's bring Robert back in. How you doing, Robert?
Good, good. I'm just reading some of the comments, seeing if people are enjoying the conversation. I hope people are. I mean, and I was just gonna say, people. I'm usually a host, so it's for me to be on the other end. It's like it makes me nervous, but I love it. You know, I love being here. But it's like it's complicated for me because I'm usually the one asking the questions. But you know, but I guess it's facing your fears. Or it's not a fear, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to say it's yeah. But I'm having a great time. I love it. You know.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, it's a good time, that's for sure, and we're having a good time here, so we'll keep going with it. Right, one thing I want to say is thank you to Gizmo, Kira, W. Decker, and SOSQHD for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people, so go pick yours up today. Here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio kicks off. We're going to get into UFOs, disclosure, and much more with Robert Kalil here momentarily. We say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, hour number 2. We're going to get into some UFO talk right now with Robert Kalil, host of the Typical Podcast, Typical Skeptic Podcast, that is. You can find it on podcast networks all over, as well as YouTube. Robert, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. It's great to be back. I'm really enjoying this conversation. It's awesome to be here.
You asked right before the break about disclosure, and my opinion of it all that we are seeing is that we are not seeing any type of disclosure movement. We're actually seeing a confirmation. And I think there's a big difference between the two, because to me, disclosure means disclose everything. What about the aliens at Roswell? What happened to them? Okay. Did Eisenhower meet with extraterrestrials at Holloman Air Force Base? Is Bob Lazar real? I mean, all of these secrets are, to me, what disclosure is all about. And we know they don't want to get into that for the sake of national security. So that's why I believe there is no such thing as disclosure. It is a confirmation movement. What's your thoughts on that?
I feel like we're getting, and you probably hear this from other people, but I feel like we're getting disclosure from the experiencers, like the people that you interview that say they're having contact every day, or maybe not every day, but and the people that I interview that are having contact, and all the people who are coming forward that are in our community. I mean, but I do also appreciate the whole David Grush thing, like whether he's a real whistleblower or not. I think, like, me and you were talking about this before the show started, like I think it's in a way it's somewhat positive for our community, because it's putting the thought into the mainstream. It's putting the thought of what if aliens are real? What if there's UFOs among us all the time? Like, and now what do we do about it? Like, so many people, when the government came out and said, kind of like, you heard that meme that the government said aliens are real, and people were like, okay. But I think if we give them a little bit more tangible evidence, people would be a lot more drawn in. And I think that's what we need, because we want to change society for the better. And I think disclosure, could have that kind of an effect, depending on what would happen if there was like free energy involved, from UFO technology that, they've been talking about for years, that we hear whispers of that, like Greer says, there's free energy. And, so, that could change our society. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but then also what I was saying was about Grush. I don't know if he's a real whistleblower or not, but I think there's something there. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It was the bill. Okay, I thought this was important. When I went to my UFO meeting here in Pittsburgh the other day, we were talking about, I guess there's a bill that they tried getting passed for whistleblower protection. Now, what this would do was, if this bill would have got passed, then no whistleblower, when they came out, would have faced time for going to jail, or they wouldn't have got their pension taken away, because I guess a lot of these people are government people. But they put the bill forward, and it got ixnayed, it got denied. And which isn't a big surprise. I don't know, but supposedly Greer says he has hundreds more witnesses ready to come forward, which I would love to see. But I'm just wondering why they couldn't get that bill passed. I mean, I know why, and it's kind of like what you just said. They don't want anybody to know the truth, because then if they came out with the truth, would they have to tell people about all the abductions that have been happening, or or maybe the possible MILABs of people, military being dark ops military being involved in abductions? There's so much there to unpack. I don't know if the mainstream world's ready for it.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. But I also believe that a big part of that too is and this is something I've been able to decipher, and a lot of people don't agree with me, and I'm actually quite fine with that. Okay. But one of the things that I have been able to kind of decipher through all of this mess is the fact that there is a giant difference between UFOs and UAP. And to me, UFOs are what we're looking for. UAP are man-made objects. I mean, look,
Yeah.
the military and whoever, they can hide anything behind the acronym UAP, no problem. But it really came to fruition about a year ago this time, when we started seeing all these Chinese balloons and drones come in to the country and get shot down, or across North America and get shot down. And they were talking to them. There was one general who even went up on the podium and said, "Look, these aren't UFOs we're dealing with here." Well, that tells me we're dealing with UAP. And I think the UAP term is also a security term for what the United States military and the military industrial complex are building. We don't know what they're building out at Area 51. We don't know what's flying out there. We'll never know. And if we could go back in history and take, a lesson from Ben Rich, the former head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, that they are 50 to 80 years ahead of where we are. That was 30 years ago. How far ahead are they now?
Yeah.
With hypersonic speed, with, all of these different planes that they have. I had one source tell me point blank, that what we saw at the beginning of Top Gun, it was a variation of a secret jet that had already been retired.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here, so that's why I don't believe in disclosure, because they don't want to give up, and rightfully so. They don't want the Russians or the Chinese or the North Koreans or Iran to find out what's actually flying in the sky. It's just, I'll give you another example. One of my sources said to me point blank that, when the conflict in Israel between Israelis and Palestine fired up, he said to me point blank, he goes, "Watch, within the next 5 days, there is going to be a UFO sighting over Israel or over the Gaza Strip." And sure enough, on day 4, people were seeing strange lights in the sky.
What do you think that was? Do we know what?
I think that there is a couple of secret planes that they send over to monitor.
Yeah. And do you think we have the TR3B? Do you think that's because that's like that gets into like UFO lore, right? Like, but like like when I interviewed Stan Gordon, he was talking about that like there's been a lot of like triangle sightings here in Pittsburgh. Like he said, I mean he kept he has them all listed on his website. He listed every encounter, and I'll just tell you the amount of encounters he has is insane. Like I mean, I don't want to say encounter, I would say sightings. Like he has like a lot of Bigfoot sightings, a lot of UFO sightings. I don't know if they're UFOs or UAPs, but it sounds like they're UFOs. A lot of black triangles. I thought that was interesting, and he said it was like a year. He said, I thought this was really interesting. He said it was a year similar to what they had in 1973 when he comes on. And I'm sure he talked about this on your show when they had that huge wave of UFOs in 73. He talked about that is going on now. And I was looking at the cases on his website and I was amazed because it was like every other day he was getting a sighting. And why I think there's some credibility to it is because these people are simply just calling his hotline, that he's had since 1969. They're saying, hey, I saw a UFO in the sky, and they're not looking for any recognition. It's not like they're looking to get put on the news or the Maury Povich show. I know that's not a show anymore. That shows my age, but these people aren't looking for like recognition. They just want to report what they saw. So that kind of tells me that like people are really seeing something. It's just, what is it? So but I thought that Stan Gordon stuff was really interesting because just of the amount of cases he's getting. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. It is. And he's one of the more brilliant minds. Now, there's a great example of somebody who is very skeptical, but yet open-minded to investigate the weird, strange sightings that people are having. I mean, when you talk about the black triangles, I'm still not sure of those. I think that there are some that are ours. I mean, people call them the TR3Bs. And I do believe that there are some of ours, but there seems to be these hot spots all around North America where these TR3Bs or these black triangles just show up. My old hometown, for instance, just outside of Vancouver, that's an area where there's a lot of TR3B sightings, right?
Yeah.
And
I was going to say we have a place here. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say you probably know this from talking to Stan, but and you've been to Pittsburgh, so But there's a county called Fayette County. It's kind of notorious here for like all the people that talk about UFOs and Bigfoot here in Pittsburgh. They know about Fayette County. It stretches from like Pittsburgh to like I think the border of West Virginia, and everything's been spotted there, like Thunderbirds, Black Panthers, UFOs, Bigfoot, weird cryptids, like, that's right up my alley. I love talking about that stuff. I got freaked out when I saw a turkey vulture. When I was at my old apartment, I was walking down to the store and I was in a really wooded area, and I saw these two turkey vultures on the side of the road eating roadkill. And it was funny because one of the turkey vultures was looking out for the other one so the other one could eat, and he was kind of blocking the road. And when I saw them, I was like, man, I don't want any of this smoke. I just turned around because I don't know any. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. But it almost like what was funny is because it looked like a cryptid to me. You know what I mean? Its wingspan was huge, but so I can't even imagine what a real Thunderbird would look like. If I saw one, because Stan's talking about some of these Thunderbirds have like 20-foot wingspans, and then that makes me think about Lon Strickler too, like this kind of stuff that people are reporting to him, like the winged humanoid cases. Those are so fascinating too. At the Chicago O'Hare Airport, I love hearing about cases like that. And it's like, does this stuff really exist? I'd love to know, but it really fascinates me. Do you like those cases as well?
Oh yeah, the Thunderbird I have a tough time believing in. And only because of this, and this is going to sound funny. I know my audience has heard this before, and they'll get a good laugh every time I say this. But I'm telling you that if it were truly here, and I'm not saying that people aren't seeing it. I have my own thinking on that. But that bird, if it were real, it has to go to the bathroom. Okay, and
yeah.
And a 40-foot bird dropping a deuce from the sky, that's going to paint buildings. That's going to paint tree lines. That's going to paint cars and semi-trucks and the roads. everything. I mean, it's not going to be like your typical pigeon droppings or something along those lines. This is going to, be absolutely astounding. I actually want to see it, as gross as that is. But I think what's happening, and this is just my opinion, I think what's happening is people are actually getting in a view of a time that was. I think there's portals that open up in the sky that actually show, much like an old movie, and they are seeing, animals or creatures from a different timeline go through that area, much like a ghost.
That's fascinating. So you're a believer in parallel. So you believe in parallel realities then?
Yes.
I would say that's interesting. That's really interesting. Like I don't know, I mean, that's fascinating though, because I've thought about that for a long time. I've thought about like that maybe we also live like parallel realities and dreams, because I've had some dreams, and I talk about this on my show. Like, I've had dreams where like, I'll live a whole life. Like, I'll just give you an example. Like for, the people that have heard this on my show, I'm sorry, but I got to get your opinion on this. So I'll have a dream, and then this dream, it's like a week long, right? And during this week, I'm on a farm, and I'm working on a farm. I'm milking cows. I'm doing all this farm work that I would never do in this life. I have none of that experience here. I have a family. I don't have a family in this life. I have a dog, all this stuff, and I'm living a whole life. Then I wake up and it's only been 8 hours, and I'm like, what the hell was that? And then I have other dreams like that where it's like dealing with some kind of weird espionage. Like I'm a spy, and and all this like weird criminal activities going on. And people are chasing after me, and it seems so real. And I just don't know where this stuff comes from. It makes me think that maybe we're living parallel realities or something. Like, do you think that's possible too?
Could be. Could very well be. I mean, are we ghosts to other dimensions? I mean, that's an interesting thought right there.
Yeah. I never really thought about that. It's a really good point.
I'll tell you why. I had this experience on a ghost hunt one day. So the original Gold Rush Trail is literally about 3/4 of a mile behind my house where my studio is here. And that trail is as haunted as anything. All right. And remember, that trail starts in Virginia City in Nevada, where we will be May 10th through 12th for our Spaced Out Radio fan party in Reno. So everyone's invited. Just a reminder to everybody, if you want to come, get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com. Cheap plug there, by the way. and the point that I'm getting at is, one time there were 9 of us there who were doing a ghost hunt along the Gold Rush Trail. And we came into these ghosts on the trail. And there's no power lines around. There's no electricity around. Our gear is working great. And we start asking questions, and we find out it's a Chinese family. It's a husband and wife, and they're on their way to a town called Barkerville, which had a giant Chinese community. That's the backstory of it all. So we're sitting there on the trail after about 10, 15 minutes. We said goodbye, and all of our meters, usually when you say goodbye, the meters go down. They go dead. Okay, they're not lighting up anymore, but our meters kept going off, and we couldn't figure out why. Okay, so I decided to walk up the trail a little bit. And when you got off the paddle boat in Yale, BC, the first thing you did was you bought a horse or 2 and a trailer. So that way, or a buggy or whatever you want to call it. And that's what rode you up the Gold Rush Trail. And so when we got there, I figured, okay, they're going to have horses. They're going to have a buggy attached to that. So I kind of took my K2 meter and I started walking down the trail, and it's all red. It's all red. It's all red. Get to the end, it goes blank. I go back and it goes red. I said, hey guys, we got to move off the trail here, because it's not just them on the trail. We're blocking the trail. They can't move. So it's them, it's their horses, and it's their buggy that's attached. So we split the sides. And as I think we couldn't see it obviously, but as these spirits walked forward, you could see all the K2 meters that were at red now going back to green, like they were gone. And eventually everything went silent. And we were like, that is an experience. Okay.
Wow.
Philip Blair asking what the Gold Rush Trail is. When the Gold Rush hit the West Coast of North America, there was a long trail that started in Virginia City, Nevada, which is just outside of Reno. And it made its way north through California, Oregon, Washington, into British Columbia, all the way up to the Yukon and Alaska, because there was gold findings all in the north, and all the prospectors wanted to go up there and get the gold. So that's what the Gold Rush Trail is. So, yeah, it was a very interesting time.
That's a fascinating story. One of your fans had mentioned Ed McMahon. I have a funny story about that. So this girl that I'm talking to, she told me the other day, she said, "Do you remember Ed McMahon?" And she said, "Do you remember the Publishers Clearinghouse?" And I said, "Sure. How can I forget that? You know, I grew up with that in the 80s." And she was like, "Well, it's a Mandela effect now." They're saying he never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. And I said, "Wait, I remember specifically him going to houses and handing out those huge checks, or supposedly they did. I don't know if anybody ever won that for real, but I know I didn't." And I just thought that was a crazy Mandela effect. And I love the Mandela effect because it really it makes my mind like go, I'm like, what is this reality? Because I really think that Ed McMahon worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. You know what I mean? Do you remember that? I mean, or is it just...
Oh, yeah. I also remember growing up and looking at maps of the world and how small of an island Cuba was. And now you look at the maps of the world, and Cuba is very large. Like, it's almost the size of Florida.
That's amazing. I wonder what's going on. It's weird. It's like I feel like sometimes like maybe like someone's like manipulating our reality. Like if our time travelers real, that makes me think about the time travelers that used to come on Art Bell back in the day. I used to be fascinated when he would have the time travelers on, but I love time travel, and it makes me wonder if it's real. But I just feel like if time travel was real, like, then why wouldn't one of them have landed on your show already, or mine, or something? Like, you know, like we would have gotten something, you know, or maybe they have to keep it hidden, like, because maybe if they would tell, then it would really disrupt reality, or it would, like, you know, I don't know, but I feel like maybe, but that's what the Mandela effect is, like time travelers manipulating time, and then we see the effect in our reality. We see like changes in our reality, and it's making us all like shake our heads and go crazy.
I think a lot of it, you know, I'm very careful with this one because I really, you know, I don't want to fall into the entire bed of the Mandela effect, but there are some things that just do not make sense to me. Do not make sense at all, and it drives me absolutely bonkers. You know,
Yeah.
drives me completely bonkers. And, you know, I think of the other one that kind of hits me a little bit is I totally recall, because I couldn't stand him as a comedian, was Sinbad, and, you know, the Shazam movie. And
Yeah.
that movie never came out, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, ones like that hit me, but I'm very careful with a lot of things that just kind of drive me nuts, you know. And yeah, Mandela effect is just weird. It's just absolutely weird and drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely crazy.
Someone in the comments said CERN. I wonder what they're doing with those hadron colliders, and then they have they have to make it weird, right? They have to have a statue of Shiva outside. Like, I wonder like what they're trying to represent with that, or like if they're doing stuff that would like manipulate time, or it's very strange. Like, and then somebody, you know, to go like full conspiracy theorist, you hear like a lot of people come on my show and said that there's multiple hadron colliders around the world, and they're, you know, but I mean, this is just stuff I hear. I can't verify it, you know. So, I mean, there's a part of me like and stuff like that. That's where I get like skeptical, because I'm like, well, we don't know for sure. So,
Robert, hold on right there. We're going to continue with the conversation. So far, we're having a lot of fun tonight. Typical Skeptic Podcast host Robert Kalil is with us tonight. Continuing on, let's get into some secret space program when we return. We'll be right back. Having fun, man. Having lots of fun.
This is great. This is awesome. I never usually stay up this late.
I do.
I don't know, sometimes, but yeah, that's why I love your show. Like I'm telling you, Dave, like I could go to bed listening to your show, and that's what I did with Art Bell. I still listen to Art Bell. That's why I have a picture of Art Bell behind me. I really thought he was like the premier for the time of what he did, and it was interesting because when he was doing it was like right at the time of the internet. Like he did it in the early 90s, but when he really started picking up steam was when the internet came into play. So I found that fascinating that he was all on radio with the transition to the internet, and radio kind of fascinates me anyway. Like I love radio. I wanted to always get into ham radio, but I never did. I might still take it up. I've always liked CB radios. That's why I said I think it's fascinating that you're on radio, because it's a great way of communication. And for people like us that were around before the internet, radio was the only thing. It was our besides TV. But then I remember when I was a kid, like we had like 3 channels on the TV. I'm 44, so like I grew up in the 80s, and we had like 3 channels on the TV. You know what I mean? And I remember watching wrestling pay-per-views, and we would watch it with squiggly lines on the TV. It was a totally different time. I don't know what made me think back. I guess the Mandela stuff got me thinking back in the day. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the hell's really going on. I'd like some of those answers. That's for sure. I totally would. But man, it's so strange. It's really so strange.
Yeah. It's they never taught us about any of this, and it's that's what I love about it. I think that's like what I love about doing this the most is like, what mystery am I going to come across tomorrow, the next day, or what's going to, and that's what keeps me going is in hope that I'll figure all this out and like we'll get answers. It's really that's really what keeps me going. I want to have answers to the biggest questions in the world, like what's going on with our reality. But I don't know if I'll ever find that out.
Right. Give me a second here, because I got to remind people that it is time to get your tickets for the 3rd annual SOR fan party in Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. We're all going there to have a good time, as we're bringing in some very special guests. Les Velez, Lorian Fenton, Melinda Leslie, Merle, Jim Goodall, Science Bob, and many more are all going to be there for your entertainment, to hang on out with you and share the party away. Okay, it's a weekend of fun. We got a live YouTube show. We got the VIP party on the Saturday. You get a ghost tour of Virginia City, as well as that night you could go sky watching for UFOs with Melinda Leslie. It's a great weekend. If you want to hang out till Monday, we are going to party hard all Sunday long, but we want you all there. You can get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com. VIP tickets are $100. And if you don't want VIP, but you still want to go, it is $60 a ticket. We want to see you all there. So make sure you show on up, because it is a good time. And we do it for you guys. This isn't about me. This isn't about SOR. This is for you, the listener, to be able to hang out with our special guests. And they're all paying their own way to come see you, because they want to hang out with you. And so if you want to take Jim Goodall for dinner and hang out with him, or you want to have breakfast with Science Bob, or lunch with Geraldine Orozco, or hang out and play some poker with Merle, you go do it. You just go do it. And that's what it's all about. That's why we do it. May 10th through 12th in Reno, Nevada at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Reserve your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com, and we will get back to you here very, very shortly. So sorry about that, Rob. Had to do the old plug there.
Oh no, it sounds awesome. I hope I can try to make it like that. It sounds like I know. I talked to someone who went. They said they had an awesome time at your event. Like, and it's in
It
Reno.
really is.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a real fun time, and we do it for our fans. We want to make sure that because here's the thing, you go to a 1 second, I got to erase a comment here. Wu Train, we don't use that word in our chat room. That's a banned word. So thank you. Gizmo, Kira, W. Decker, SOSQHT, Maggie, and Peter, thank you for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. Mennonite Abe, you're going to go to Reno, right? Hi, Jeeves. Here we go, everyone. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate hurting your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Rob Kalil. He is the host of the Typical Skeptic Podcast and YouTube channel. We're having a great conversation. We're going to turn the tides from the Mandela effect to secret space program. Rob, you think we got people on the moon, Mars, and maybe other places?
I definitely do. I definitely do. I don't know what's going on. I can't verify anything, but I've started off with the experiencers. Like I let any, or most of the SSP experiencers come on my show and tell their story. And I think it's weird that a lot of people are getting their memories back. But then as far as like SSP proof, and I know this, you probably know this better than anybody, is we have the Gary McKinnon stuff that, that he hacked into the government computers, and he found that we have, off-world officers supposedly, and not just that, but we had craft, and I thought that was really telling. And the fact that they wanted to prosecute Gary McKinnon for that was really, interesting, because like if he didn't find anything, then they wouldn't have wanted to prosecute him. So I think he obviously stumbled onto something. Now I don't know how much of that is what we would call UFO lore and how much was real, but and then I'll show people this. I interviewed Mary Joyce tonight. She's really interesting. She has this book. I have it on my desk. It's called Spy in the Sky, where she went on Google Earth and she found all these spots. Like she found biodomes on Mars, she gives you the coordinates in the book and she gives pictures, and it's kind of iffy. It's like, well, is this real? She's found like craft supposedly on Mars. Then she found stuff on the moon. Then she found stuff in Antarctica. She found like 4 or 5 underwater cities supposedly. And then so she did, the moon, Mars, Antarctica. Oh, and then she did the coast of California, which is interesting, where we're seeing all those USOs. Supposedly there's something under there too. And then she gives all the coordinates and stuff like that. Like, I just had her on tonight about that. But then as far as like, do we have stuff? I would say there's something going on, and, they say NASA, never a straight answer. Right. So I don't know what we can believe. I'm not a flat earther though. But I feel like every conspiracy theory has some good points. Like, is there an ice wall, and is there something up beyond the ice wall? I don't know. But then I had Brad Olson on my show, and he said, he showed me pictures. He's like, look, this is Antarctica, because he was there. He was like, no ice wall. And I was like, well, but maybe I heard Antarctica is huge, so it could be vast. I'm not discounting anything at this point, but I'm not discounting anything, and I'm open to anything, if that makes any sense. Like, I just want to, I'm here for the ride, I don't know, but I love it. I really do. So sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, I think that's absolutely fine. What do you think we're doing up in space? What do you think's happening up there? How do we get there?
Supposedly, we get there with, like, I guess, like, reverse engineered craft that we have, if that's real, and supposedly, according to Gary McKinnon, we already have craft up there. Linda Moulton Howe talks about this too, that we have craft called that are named after generals, like we have the Hillenkotter, supposedly. And then if you look, what's interesting is if you look into like the witness. Oh, this is a real interesting one. I had this guy on my show. He's amazing. He's a friend of mine. He goes by the name of Miles Moonbases. Okay. And what he did was he started taking pictures of the moon with, like, I can't remember what kind of camera he had. And he found some really telling stuff. Like, he found that they were possibly drilling up there. That's what it looked like to him. Now, this is interesting is when I had Terry Lovelace on my show, from his experiences, he found that they were possibly drilling on the moon too. For what? I don't know. I think Terry said some kind of helium alternative or something like that, from what I remember. And if I butchered that, Terry, if he's listening, I'm sorry, But so it seems like we're up there drilling on the moon that NASA doesn't want us to know about. Is it real? I don't know, but it seems like it, and then Mars, possibly we're there too. Maybe, I don't know where, maybe under, I don't know if that's happening underground or if there's biodomes. It's really interesting. It really is, I think something's definitely going on though.
Yeah, I think there's something going on too. And, I remember talking to one of my insiders about this, and he's like, dude, you could ask me anything you want, but do not ask me about the moon or the secret space program. He goes, I can't talk about that stuff. I was just like, oh, well, that's kind of interesting right there. I think that's very interesting. I just, this goes back to what we talked about earlier, where I do believe the United States military has craft that we know nothing about that can generate travel to these far off places and lands. I mean, we're so far beyond rocket technology that we see Elon Musk using, and I think they don't want to come out with it yet. They don't want the adversaries, once again, to know that they have that ability. And I think it's a real stain on what humanity could be doing and what they could be offering humanity to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that always is interests me, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I just want to bring it up real quick, is because I study the abductions as the hybrid program. Like, why is it happening, and what's really going on? I mean, I've had many people come on my show, and I've heard many accounts on so many shows about people being abducted, people not to get graphic, but genetic materials being taken from men and women multiple times. And then I always started wondering, well, I was like, well, where are all these hybrids going? And that could tie into like what you're talking about with the moon and Mars. Maybe some alien race is using these hybrids on the moon or on Mars for some kind of mining purpose or something, or I don't know if it ties in or not. But then I've heard stories that the aliens say that they're building a race in case we blow up the planet, in case we blow ourselves up, because, obviously we have nuclear weapons, which I think also is a really childish thing. Like, we have weapons that are pointed at each other that could like really destroy our whole planet, and I you would think that like we as a society, we would be past that, but we're obviously not. And that goes into the accounts of Robert Salas when he said that the UFOs flew over the nukes and they shut them down, which I thought was really interesting. I often wonder sometimes if we would ever get into a nuclear contact, if ET would step in and kind of save the day, or if they would let us destroy ourselves. It's something that I ponder about sometimes.
I got to show you something here. Now, our radio audience is not going to be able to see this. See this ball cap here? I have a baseball cap that just fell in the studio. Now, this hat was up here around that ball. And the hat I just watched go like this and fall down.
Wow.
That is weird. Completely.
Do you think you have a spirit in there?
Oh, always. Always. Now, there we go. Yeah, that was weird. There's no way that was possible for that to do that. So I'm going to say right now, Spirit in here, if you knocked over my Area 51 hat, can you do it again?
Oh, and that's really telling that it was an Area 51 hat for what we're talking about, you know?
Yeah,
That's a really cool hat. I like that.
Very interesting. I have no idea how that happened.
If I ever make it to your if I make it to your event, I'd like to go to Pahrump and see Art Bell's grave and where he lived. I was that big of a fan, you know, and I think that would be interesting. Yeah, maybe check out his radio station too. There, he had that can IE. You know, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just the hugest Art Bell fan, you know. He I don't know why. I can like listen to his stuff at night and go to bed, and it kind of relaxes me and soothes me still, and some of the topics. What I found is a lot of the topics get recycled. Like a lot of people are talking about the stuff that he was talking about back then, you know. But then I don't know. It's interesting for sure. But I brought up the hybrid program. Do you think that there's hybrids being made and that they're using them somewhere for some kind of weird experiment?
I do. What that is, I don't know. I haven't figured that portion out yet, but I do believe that the hybridization program, for people who don't know, the hybridization program is where alleged ETs abduct you and then take, from females, they take eggs, and from men, they take sperm, and then they use that DNA and those eggs to create hybrid alien children that we're not allowed to see, at least on this planet. I think it is real. I know too many people who have had those experiences, and I find it very interesting. I think it's one of those things where you have to take things in step, especially with the public. You have to take it in step and in stride where, first it's UFOs, then it's ETs, then it's ETs flying the UFOs, and then they can get in. So, I mean, it's still a number of rings down on the ladder, before we get to it, but it's a part of it all.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting to think about what's going on. And then it seems like it's weird. Like we don't hear as many of those abduction cases nowadays. It seems like people are having more like benevolent contact with different races of extraterrestrials. From what I see, are you getting the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, there are. To me, I think it's slowed down. I think people are a little bit more scared to go public now, even though they're talking about it a little bit more. I think people are a little scared to go fully public now because they see what's going on Facebook, while they're doing their exploration on whether or not they should come out as a contactee or an abductee. And I think when they see how people are treating each other, I think it's one of those things where they're like, no, this isn't for me. I don't need to come out anymore, because they are going to get harassed. They are going to get strange answers for what they have gone through. And it's a tough crowd for people to finally admit that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. I can't imagine being an experience or wanting to come out. I mean, and then they always get a mixed bag. They either get like a lot of like accolades from the community, or they'll get people saying they're fake, and I couldn't be like that. If I had a real experience and I was sharing it and people were telling me it was fake, what was an interesting one was the and I don't know if I have an opinion on it or not, was the Anjali case. She like kind of came out of nowhere. I remember she did that press conference, and I think I can't remember who set that up, but she had some weird experiences, and that just kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I thought that was really interesting. Did you ever have her on your show, or?
I never bought her story. and
Yeah.
never bought her story. And, there were a number of reports of people looking into her story who interviewed so for people who don't know the Anjali story, this is a lady who came out saying that she was supposed to go to California and meet some aliens inside a mountain and then bring them out for disclosure. And when you have the owner of the property on a different show who is coming out saying, I don't know who this lady is. She has not asked me to come on my property. I don't want people on my property digging a hole looking for aliens. That's just the way it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say this too, and this is going to sound a little condescending or not condescending, but a lot of people who aren't experiencers won't understand this. But if you're a multiple experiencer and you're a multiple experiencer, you kind of have this candid intuition about who's an experiencer and who's not. Okay. And as an experiencer, I don't believe her story.
Yeah.
It just doesn't resonate with me. Nothing about it sounds true. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen, okay, because I wasn't in her shoes, okay? But I just think there's a lot of holes in her story that most experiencers can figure out.
Yeah. One person that I really liked that I resonated with that was on your show that I was able to have on my show was Samantha Mowat. I thought I knew you were friends with her, right? I liked her information a lot. She seems to really be really to the point, and she really knows what she's talking about. She can just it's amazing kind of, it's like she's really just on point,
Have you interviewed her?
Yeah, she was on maybe 2 years ago. And
Samantha is the most accurate psychic medium ET experiencer that I know. And I would say, in my opinion, she is close to 100% accurate. Nobody's ever going to be 100% accurate. But knowing her personally and having her as one of my mentors and guides, I am biased. I will say that. But also, I do know that I've walked into a forest with her twice, and twice I've seen aliens.
Wow. So you've actually saw an alien. That's amazing. Like that, not many people can say that. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
yeah.
I mean, what did you feel like? I
wasn't scared of them. I was scared that my reality had changed. That's what scared me. Is my reality had changed in the flip of a second. Now, the second time happened this past summer. And that was, I don't even know how to explain that, but she had called them in. She knew they were going to be there, and be damned if they weren't. And, we're actually thinking, just on a whim here, and we haven't put anything together yet, but we're actually thinking of actually doing a weekend with Samantha up here in British Columbia, where she will call them in for people.
That would be so cool. Because I've never, I admit it, like any kind of experience I have, I'll admit. I have one experience where I saw, I thought it was a UFO. I was after a show I did. And then I went outside and I was looking up at the sky and I was really trying to see a UFO. I really just wanted to see a UFO. Like I wasn't even thinking about it at this point though. And I was smoking a cigarette and I looked up at the sky and I saw something light up. And then it like zigged and then it zagged and then it zigged again. And I was like, that can't be a shooting star. And then it just kind of disappeared. I was like, that had to be something that was like, I mean, I can't say it was a UFO for sure, but it sure seemed like it, but it wasn't up close or anything. It was very far away, and that's the closest I've ever come to seeing a UFO, if it was one. I like to be honest about stuff, if I'm having an experience, I'll tell you but right now I don't understand exactly what's going on with my experiences. I could have been taken, but I want to find out. I'd like to know first before I come out with anything. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be sure of it.
Yeah, that's where it's hard to be sure, because the experiences are so surreal. How do you even know what reality is anymore? Because your
Yeah.
reality and your dynamic has now changed.
Yeah. It's really interesting. It's fascinating too. When we look into this, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because I'm just thinking about my experiences. Like I told you what happened with that pedometer, and it's like I feel like something happened that night, but I can't. It's like I have my finger on it, but I don't know exactly what happened. Like maybe if I got regressed, I could maybe uncover something. I might do that, because but I just want to be sure. But it's interesting to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes to go with you tonight, and this is a show that has flown on by. Rob, what subject is your love? What is one that really finds you close to your heart that you love covering?
I love talking about the Anunnaki. Like I love that one in ancient history, and I love having people like Rock Castaldo on my show. He's a mystic, and he talks about like the ancient Vedics and stuff like that. I love talking about that. Then I love ufology, so I like talking about old school ufology, and I like talking about new school ufology with like the secret space program and stuff. And then I like talking about my labs and targeted individuals and old school alien abduction cases. I like studying consciousness, whether it's through psychedelics or OBEs, out of body experiences, near death experiences. I know you asked me for one, but I like it all. That's all the stuff I like the most, But if I had to pick, that's like all my favorite stuff.
What do you mean by targeted individuals?
It seems like targeted individuals are people who feel like they're targeted by the government or some organization. They're sending like V2K to them, like voice to skull technology, which is that it's been proven they have that, but whether it's being used on people, I don't know for sure. Sometimes these people have like really dramatic stories and like, it's like, like for example, like the one is like Tommy Edwards. He's come on my show. He went by Tommy Touchdown Edwards. He was a football player for Virginia Tech. He kind of came out against the whole football and CTE, that people experience from it. But then he started experiencing like weird targeting. He also had some weird paranormal experiences around he has security cameras outside his building. So it's people experience just like weird targeting from an unknown source, or maybe a source that they think's the government, voice to skull technology, and all kinds of stuff, but I think the most thing they get targeted by is V2K.
That is very interesting. Very interesting. And thank you for clarifying that. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show tonight. And, you made it a lot of fun, and it made for a very, very quick conversation. If you could do me a favor over the next 45 seconds and tell everybody how they could get a hold of you and where they can find not only you, but your podcast, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not on YouTube. Just look up Typical Skeptic Podcast. You'll see the picture with the alien, and then I'm on Rumble too. I'm trying to get people to go over to Rumble because we know why. I don't have to talk about it. And I'm also on Rockfin too, and then I have audio. And if you want to support the podcast, there's ways to do that. All my links are on the descriptions of my videos, and I have merch too. You can buy merch. So yeah. So support the podcast, buy merch, and subscribe. But let me just tell you, Dave, this was awesome. Like I haven't been able to sit and talk with someone about all these different topics. I can't believe we went 2 hours, and we kind of got into everything. We got into cryptids I mean, we went all over the place tonight. It was amazing.
And that's what makes it a lot of fun. Rob Kalil from the Typical Skeptic Podcast, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then, Courtney Marani is back from assignment and ready for an amazing UFO report. Stay tuned. All right, buddy, we're done. We're clear.
Great all right, job. Thank you, Dave. That was amazing. Did it go all right? Do you think it went all right then?
It went absolutely perfect, dude. Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you. It was a real pleasure and an honor to do your show. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do it again, man. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, we'll set up a time for me to come on yours as well.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Rob,
Rob,
thank you. Have a good night. All right, take care.
Rob Kalil, everybody. I will be right back. You stay tuned because you're going to love this UFO report tonight. Drenched with information. I'll be right back. right. I am back. Yes. Courtney Marani will also be in Reno. So if you want to get some UFO woo from her, you got to come to the Spaced Out Radio fan party. Once again, tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. Kira's going to be there. Tim Mothman, you can pose with his goatee. Yeah, you can tell Tim to back off and just leave his goatee there. Scrub-a-dub-dub, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, we're having a good show tonight. This one's been a lot of fun. Thank you. My Bigfoot toque, as you Americans call beanies, was knitted by Pixie Lara. I love this toque. It is fantastic. And it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever received. Really is. Thank you tonight to Peter Benton, Maggie, SOSQHD, W. Decker, Kira, and Gizmo for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. POTUS, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you, Nina Williams. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So thank you very much. And here we go, everybody, with hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Is that time of the night? We say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, who kicks off hour number 3 with another weird missing story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. 21-year-old Lisa Marie Young was born on May 5, 1981, in Nanaimo, British Columbia, Canada. She was the eldest child and only daughter of Don Young and Marlene Joanne Martin. She had 2 younger brothers, Brian and Robin. Lisa had a close relationship with her family. Her mother described her as a hardworking and independent woman with a strong personality and inner strength that was truly remarkable. Dallas Hulley, an acquaintance of Lisa and the last person to hear from her, described her as outgoing, confident, and bubbly. He further said that her aura made her stand out at a gathering or a party. Lisa was a fitness enthusiast and a vegetarian who enjoyed rollerblading at the waterfront. Lisa and her roommate used to live in an apartment building on Barron's Road next to her parents. However, at the time of Lisa's disappearance, her father was helping her move into a new apartment in northern Nanaimo, which she was very excited about. Lisa was getting ready to start a job at a call center within 2 days of her disappearance. She had plans to pursue higher education and become a television sports broadcaster. On June 29, 2002, Lisa left her parents' house at 11 p.m. to go to a nightclub with several friends. Her parents found it strange since Lisa had a busy schedule for the week. Lisa and Hully were invited to a house party by a man who offered them a ride in his red, older model Jaguar. They accepted the offer and went to the party. Later, they went to a second house party in the Cathars Lake area of Nanaimo. When Lisa became hungry, the driver offered to take her to get some food. At around 4:30 a.m., Lisa called Hully's cell phone. In the interview, Hully said, quote, "It was Lisa on her cell phone. She said, 'Dallas, I don't know what's going on. This guy won't bring me back. We're sitting in a driveway on Bowen Road, and he won't bring me back.' She added, 'I'm bored. I'm getting mad.'" End quote. The final signal from Lisa's cell phone was traced to the Departure Bay area of Nanaimo. On July 1, 2002, Lisa's parents failed to hear from her. At first, they thought it was possible Lisa was too busy to answer her cell phone, but grew concerned when Lisa's former roommate visited to ask about her whereabouts. After calling every phone number in her phone book, Lisa's parents contacted the RCMP detachment in Nanaimo. Lisa's parents were initially told to call when she'd been missing for over 48 hours. However, an RCMP officer came over to the Youngs' household later that evening to ask questions and get a photograph of Lisa. Lisa's mother did not initially tell the police that Lisa was indigenous because she was afraid that the report would not be taken seriously due to stereotypes. A few days later, the RCMP told Lisa's parents that their serious crime unit was investigating her disappearance. Police concluded that foul play was likely involved, and several searches were conducted in remote areas in and near Nanaimo, revealing nothing. On July 3, 2002, Lisa's family contacted the local media. The following day, the story was on the front page of the Nanaimo Daily News. The story was in the news in Victoria the next day and province-wide by the following week. Lisa's father's employer printed thousands of missing person posters, which the company's delivery drivers distributed to businesses across Vancouver Island. Within days, posters were visible at most island stores and businesses. Lisa's extended family and First Nations members put up a reward of $11,500 for information about the case. In late July 2002, police questioned the driver of the Jaguar. The RCMP took Lisa's mother to a short meeting with the driver. She later stated that she asked the man to tell her where her daughter was, and he replied, quote, "I can't. I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect your family." End quote. The man was eventually released, and no charges were brought forth. Police later stated, quote, "The driver, like many others involved in this file, is simply a person of interest." End quote. The Jaguar was eventually located, seized by the RCMP for inspection, and later released. It was determined that the car was owned by the driver's grandmother, who subsequently sold the vehicle and threatened to sue over talk that could implicate her grandson in the disappearance. Between July and December 2002, dissatisfied with police efforts on the case, Lisa's grandfather organized a tribal search and rescue into several massive search efforts in multiple locations in Nanaimo and other communities. Search teams comprised up to 30 volunteers and divers who searched a reservoir at Colliery Dam Park. Searches occurred between July and December 2002 and in the spring and summer of 2003. The family contacted Lisa's bank and cell phone provider and determined that the account had funds but no activity. The final signal from Lisa's phone was sent from the Departure Bay area of Nanaimo.
Thank you, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, for another great story. Nanaimo, BC. It's where I started my radio career, way, way back in the late 90s. Thank you. You could hear Steve Stockton from Among the Missing to kick off hour number 3 of each show each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. If you want more, you could go to his YouTube channel, hit subscribe on Among the Missing. From the missing to the mysterious, she's back from assignment. We welcome back Courtney Marani and the UFO Report.
Nobody's going to know.
They're going to know.
Courtney Marani, you've been gone for a week, out in the depths of the East Coast, looking for aliens, UFOs, and all sorts of weird, strange things. Man, are we glad to have you back. How you been?
Hey, I'm good. I'm a bit jet lagged. I'm still on East Coast time, so it's like 2 a.m. my time. So I took a little nap so I would be on my game for tonight. There's just there's so much going on. I'll let you kick it off so you can lead us in where you want to go on all the updates.
Well, you know what? I want to start off with the fact that you went out there to meet a bunch of different people regarding UFOs. I mean, you talked to everybody from government officials to whistleblowers to experiencers and everything. What was the purpose of your trip?
Well, I had to go for personal reasons. My mom needed me to move all her stuff out of her house. And so I met with people in Pennsylvania. I met with people in Maryland, and I organized my trip back home to meet with certain people around Washington, D.C., primarily because what I wanted to do was get confirmation that they were working on that new statute. I had heard some buzz that they were working on what got cut out of the NDAA, just before December. And actually, it was just before January because the president signed the NDAA right in the last couple of weeks in December. So I wanted to meet with some people about the statute and find out if that scuttlebutt was true. And it is true. I did find that out and got confirmation that they are working on that new statute. They don't have much completed just yet, but they are trying to bring it back out and reintroduce it. So that's the first bit of news that we got confirmed for my trip.
Very nice. Very nice. And, the confirmation that this may come back up in the future, I mean, is something that is very exciting as well, because we all want to know what's going on. We all want this subject to be taken a little bit more seriously than usual. How do we do it? How do we go from the Schumer amendment to where we are now?
Well, it's really a very quiet effort right now. There's insiders are working on it, and they're crafting, I think, the language to put some of the things that were cut out back in. They wouldn't say what the eminent domain clause was going to look like, but they were going to try to work that back in from what I understand. I did hear something very interesting about, and this wasn't about the statute, but it was a tie-in from another group about potentially things that are found, metals and things that are found. This was from another source where people have been potentially, either had contact or encounters, the metal that's taken from their body. And how will that look like legally? And I hadn't heard about this, and I thought it was a really unique angle. Whether this will be brought into the statute or not, I don't know. I have a feeling it's being discussed by those insiders. Like if metal is found, like through a medical exam, and it's taken out, who gets that metal? Is that the experiencer's metal for them to keep themselves because it was in their body, or would the government actually take that because it would be found and looked at as discoverable? And so that was an interesting tie-in on eminent domain that I was not thinking about creatively that came up in one conversation, which I think is really important for all of us to keep thinking about, like legal domain on those kind of issues. Had you thought about that at all?
I've thought about a lot of things, but that one I did not think about on what happens with those materials.
I think it's going to come up. Yeah, I think that's going to come up. I don't know if it's going to come up in the statute, if it's going to be tied into the statute somehow, if it's going to come into play later as an eminent domain issue, but who owns that metal? Who takes custody of it? And then where will it be? Used? Would it be used for studies? Would we know where it would go? That's a debate that's happening right now in the insider circles. That's, I think, very important.
I can see where that is going to be important. What was the push towards disclosure? What were people talking about out there?
It's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. Now, I was a little bit down about disclosure because when I went to the Soul Symposium, I heard Hal Puthoff say that he had been in that that meeting of people who had been involved with SAP programs, and that they did a survey, and that when they did the surveys, that they found it was overwhelmingly negative for disclosure. And one of the main reasons why was because of the IRAD monies, because there was so much put into IRAD monies in these black budget dark programs that we would never have disclosure. It would only be a disclosure handled by the government and the government's narrative. But I'm not actually seeing that. When I was in the DC area and met with people, mostly government intelligence individuals who were either working for the government or ex-intelligence community folks, they shared a lot of information about disclosure happening. There's a big event happening this year, but there was also so much sharing of information of all the different people who are working on disclosure. So I was really uplifted. I found out that some individuals in our community know the name of the programs, multiple names of the programs. And so I was surprised by that individuals that you and I both know. And so it's really, really getting close. And I was excited to hear about all the news and the coordination of disclosure. So it's pretty big. It's pretty big news.
How is this going to come out, though, legally? I mean, I can't see it happening.
I know it sounds like I'm saying, hey, take this on faith or trust, but it wasn't just the conversations that I was having. It was what was being said in the conversations. And it was the fact checking with multiple people, the same types of things. Individuals, like I said, who have worked in the government or are currently working in the government, not just one or two sources, 3 and 4 sources, were all saying the same thing, that the name of the program might come out. There was a caution that some individuals who have been leaking information into the community, this was before I even left. I wrote in another group, the one that you and I used to both be in, actually. I mentioned in that group that I was concerned about specifically the jellyfish video, that I said, if this is actually coming from, I brought it up in that group, if this is actually coming from, a government system, I'm hoping that Jeremy Corbell has a really good lawyer. And somebody popped on and said, well, of course, that goes without saying, he arranged the hearing, he arranged the congressional hearing. And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't necessarily know that alone protects him. Because if you're handed, information from a government computer that has top security clearance, and you're getting that information from that system, you could potentially go to jail or get prosecuted. And so I put some questions out there for explorations with some other people, and they went into actual legalese around exposure to top security type materials and being leaked those types of materials, and how he wasn't in any way in any jeopardy. But I didn't necessarily buy that. And so when I went into, the DC area, I was told directly that some of those videos that were leaked came off of a top security clearance, and he could be in trouble for it. And there's a crackdown going on right now. So that was one of the other things that was really apparent. And so it's individuals like Jeremy Corbell who's getting that information. There could potentially be legal repercussions because of it. So there was warnings.
What you're saying is Jeremy Corbell has currently been warned about putting out videos and could be publicly prosecuted for that?
I don't know if he has actually been warned. I think it was more like he's being investigated. It was I think it was the Air Force who was investigating the leakers who put those videos out from what they have is a UAP task force forum that is within, it's been there the whole time, and it allows these individuals who are interagency to have discussions about what's being posted. They can upload videos there. It allows investigations to happen. And this was established from, at least 2022, from what I understand. And apparently I was curious about this because I suspected Jeremy Corbell got videos from that forum. That was before I even left. And I made this comment like, I think he might be in trouble legally because I'm not sure. And somebody was saying, oh, they want him to have this information, or, he would, in the US, if you get leaked information like this, you're going to get a pull aside, right? They're going to come and investigate you if you have, access to top security information. This is why David Grush couldn't testify in the hearing to certain things, because it was an open hearing. The concern was that Jeremy Corbell got these videos from the high side. It's called the high side of the forum, and that's the more classified level of the forum. There's different levels of classification. But once information goes up into the high side of the forum, that goes into top security clearance. And so I don't know if he got those videos leaked from that side of the forum, the top security side, but if that's where they came from, which is what I originally suspected, that there is an investigation right now and he could be in trouble. Yes.
Do we know if Jeremy Corbell knows about this?
I don't know. I don't have any contact with him. I mean, that was what I said, because I got warned. I got warned. And I said, I don't have any contact with him. I don't know him. I'm not affiliated with him. I have never had a conversation with him. So in a sense, it was very protective, for me. This is just my own opinion about hearing what went on with the forum and hearing about and watching what he broke in his news segments right up until the point that I left. So, like I said, I brought it up in our other group, and his defenders basically say, oh, obviously he has a lawyer, Courtney, because he wouldn't have been able to pull off, the congressional hearing and this and that. But I do think that if it goes into top security stuff where it was in this forum or other avenues in the DOD, they're going to look at it, and they're going to crack down not only on Jeremy Corbell, but other people. So there was definitely a warning. So I think disclosure is happening, but it's happening in this way that's mixed. That's my point. And so people need to be really careful where they get their information from and make sure it's vetted and make sure you get multiple sources on it that can, verify it. I'm just sharing you what I think. This is my interpretation of what I heard and saw when I was in these various meetings with certain individuals. And I can't name any of them, unfortunately, but they watch the show and they are also for disclosure and they want to help. And so I do see signs that disclosure is going to accelerate.
Now, you mentioned you had been warned. Can you go into detail about that? We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, I met with somebody when I was in the DC area, and they obviously had a team on them. So I was videoed meeting with this individual, and they followed me from the parking lot into where we met. I told people where I was going to be so that if anything happened, and they would know where I was. But no, I didn't tell this person where we were going to meet until the very last minute, in case that was kind of stuff was happening. And then, there was a warning right before I came home. And it was from one of the agencies that saw who I was meeting with and saw and heard what was being talked about. And so, there was a warning that came through.
How do you feel about that?
I knew that they monitored me. I knew that they monitored my phone calls. I knew that they monitored my emails, but of course I was upset about it. And so, I got into a pretty heated debate with one of the individuals, about the warning, because, I don't appreciate it, but everybody knows I don't appreciate it. So, but the point is, like, hey, you really need to get over this. If you want to work toward disclosure, it's just kind of what happens. And so that's one of the things that I noticed, that there's all these people that are aware of that level and work underneath that level of surveillance, and they are still getting it done. Whereas I just take umbrage at that kind of thing, being watched and monitored. It's not fun.
No, it's not fun. And it's kind of funny because around here, we've been seeing a lot of things going on with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, with MUFON and their hacking incident that they've gone through. And it seems, just to update everybody on that, no information has been harmed. So people's personal information, if you've submitted a deal to MUFON, it has not been It has not been compromised, which is good news. That's the latest update on that. But we're going to continue the UFO report. Courtney Marani, who is on assignment out in Washington, D.C. area, looking for UFOs and much more. It's good to have her back on the show. I know you guys were asking for her. I was asking for her. Where's Courtney? Well, she's back now. Spaced Out Radio's UFO report continues after this. There you go. You were missed.
Oh, well, I was so excited to come back because of all the breaking news and all the stuff that was going on. It's unreal. How did the MUFON hack get resolved? Is there anything that's been resolved on that? Or are they still being very quiet about everything?
Well, I do know that I had a lawyer from not MUFON, but represents their lobbying group, A10 Productions, get a hold of me. They didn't like the story I broke.
I was wondering if you got warned as well, because, I've had the warning now and it's just.
No, I didn't get warned. I got told that my information from my sources was wrong. I said, no, it wasn't. And the funny part about it was how can I say this with being polite? She told me she was a lawyer for A10, and she also ran their PR firm. But in a message to me, she had stated that she was representing MUFON. But on the phone, when I talked to her, she said she was not representing MUFON in a lawyerly way. So
that's interesting.
I questioned her on that. And I said, well, you can't really comment on what I'm doing then. I said, I'm a journalist. I play by the rules. And I said, get me a statement from Dave McDonald and I'll run it tonight. So she did.
She got you a statement.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. I think it's good that you could still play by the rules and still actually get comments and quotes and people to go on the record. I think there's a lot of underhanded stuff that goes on. I think that there is a coordination. There's coordination happening, obviously. I mean, that's just my opinion. It's obviously my opinion also that Jeremy Corbell got leaked videos. I don't know that, but it seems like that to me. And the warnings were directly related to that. That this was illegal and you need to make sure that you're not involved in it. And I'm not involved in it. I don't have anything to do with Jeremy Corbell. But I think that he might be in trouble.
It's going to be interesting to see if that plays out. It's going to be very interesting for to see, because I mean, even if he has to lawyer up on that, I'm going to try and get a hold of him to send him a message just to see if he has any comment on that. We'll see.
Our stuff is different. Like, he's got different information, so it's not related to us. It's not related to SOR, but like the process that he used could be interpreted as being similar, I guess. So that's why the warning came in. There's so much stuff going on. It's unbelievable. It's highly complex. It's multiple overlapping government systems. It's competing interests. But there's definitely a good faction of people. That's the really good takeaway that I am walking away from Washington thinking to myself, there's some really good people working on this. And, they are considered the insiders. They can't be out. They can't be out in the world like we are talking about this stuff, but they do watch everything closely. And I'm really hoping that they'll be able to collaborate with us, especially with Spaced Out Radio in the future, especially as things get closer, that we'll be involved. I hope so. I'm trying to establish inroads for us.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's something that is difficult. It is something that we're going to, it builds off of trust. And, And if you can't, I think this is getting to the point where if you can't be trusted, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to give information.
Yeah, well, I see that Stargazer is just saying that the videos that Jeremy Corbell releases come from Reddit threads. Those videos have been out for a while, and they've been out for a while already. I agree. I agree that some videos are on Reddit, but some of them didn't come from Reddit. Some of them came from another source. And I will say, I'm going to tell you right now that there was an investigation. I'm going to fact check what I say right now with the source of mine who sent me information about it. And it came from, I think it was Chris Sharp, who made a post about it today, that the Air Force was doing the investigation on that UAP forum. So it's out already. And Christopher Sharp has it.
Hold on to that. We're going to talk about that here in 2 seconds, Courtney.
Yep.
Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate hurting your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Courtney Marani and the UFO Report continues right now. Now, Courtney, you're hearing that there's some sort of U.S. Air Force investigation going on. What's this all about?
Air Force oversight committees have been advised that USAF warned personnel not to approach the UAP task force without approval. There were reports that some participating in a classified DoD chat room devoted to UAP issues were interrogated by U.S. Air Force OSI officers, warning them against participation. So that's what I'm talking about. In the UAP task force, as I've been taught through these different intelligence officers, there is a more public portion of that chat room, the UAP task force chat room. And then there's another part called the high side, where stuff is completely classified. And so the distinction that I'm trying to make about Jeremy Corbell's information, that if it came from the high side, he didn't have permission to leak that. And so that's what I'm saying is potentially dangerous for him. And that's where the warning came from, is to stay away from that kind of information, where it's coming from. Now, it's frustrating. I'm sure it's frustrating for everybody, because you're thinking these insiders are trying to help disclosure. They're leaking this information, but you have to remember there's a side of this that's also disinformation. Remember Sean Kilpatrick, or no, it wasn't Sean Kilpatrick. It was Tim Burchett, like a week ago. Okay, just a week ago, said that somebody's putting out disinformation into the community. And somebody contacted me and said, who's he talking about? You know, what source is this? And it's not any of my sources that he's talking about. He might be talking about Jeremy Corbell. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think that might be who Tim Burchett is warning against, disinformation campaigns. So we need to be really careful and use critical judgment about all this information. And if Tim Burchett's going out there in the media saying that somebody's sending disinformation into the community, and now there's an Air Force investigation into the UAP task force forum, that could be connected. I don't know that, but I think it's important as disclosure goes forward to keep looking at where information is coming from and asking ourselves, where is he getting this? Or where are these people getting this information from? It's a good question. And we should try to fact check everything to be good, getting good validation in the community. But I do think it's a positive sign in some ways of disclosure going forward, because there's people on the inside trying to help. It's just hard to discern which part of that is the disinformation that we're being warned about.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be so many different sides to this right now. and there's the pro disclosure crowd, there's the anti-disclosure crowd in the government going on right now. I mean, if we have that much going on where there's now going to be internal investigations, you know, I'm just blown away that it's got this far. You know, that they are completely watching what our community is putting out, and that they are contacting people to say, be aware of what you are putting out.
Yeah, I mean, I had it, like I said, it was out of concern. The individual who sent the word through was concerned, you know, that I might have been caught up in this. I just want to reassure everybody, I'm not caught up in it. I have no evidence on my computers, no evidence in any of my cell phone or anything like that, and wouldn't be caught dead with any of that kind of information. If you're handed information like that, it's dangerous to you. So I do think it's an important thing to raise as disclosure gets closer, because information is coming out and more information is coming out. You just need to make sure that you're smart about your sources and who you're getting it from. And as you're viewing this stuff, just make sure you're taking a step back and asking, well, where did this come from too? I do know that Jeremy Corbell worked with Tim Burchett closely. And so I was really curious, why would he come out now and be warning about, he didn't say Jeremy, he just said there is disinformation. And when I asked a couple sources, well, who do you think that he's talking about? One of them said, well, it's most likely Jeremy Corbell. So I was really surprised by that, because I know that he did rely on Jeremy Corbell for a lot of his information leading up to the congressional hearing.
Yeah, and that one kind of catches me off guard too, is because, I mean, Jeremy Corbell has been up front and center with everything that's going on. I mean, look, at the last hearings, he was sitting right in the front row, right behind Grush, David Fravor, and Ryan Graves. So, I mean, that is a little bit interesting that it's maybe taken off that way. You know, but it also makes me wonder if Corbell is potentially in some sort of trouble. What does this say for George Knapp, who is kind of, you know, one of the godfathers of breaking this story publicly?
Well, I think, you know, if it's just on Jeremy's side and he, you know, he took the information, then I'm sure George isn't, you know, in any way connected to it. And I'm sure George has also taught Jeremy, you know, methods about how to keep all of that safe and secure and keep himself protected. We already talked about that he, you know, has announced himself as an investigative journalist now, to maybe put himself, you know, behind a little bit of legal ease to protect his sources and his methods, you know, but it's still, from what I've been told, and I've talked to 3 different people about it legally, the legal aspect, they said it doesn't matter. They said it really doesn't matter if you hide behind a journalist label if you have classified information. That doesn't matter. So I guess we'll have to wait and see, because if there is a crackdown right now, then that means there's an investigation that's already happened, and we'll hear more about it. But that's breaking. That's one of the big breaking news, if you hadn't heard about it. And we were kind of related to it. I mean, not really, but we were warned about it to stay away from it.
Any other warnings that we should hear about?
Yeah, well, there have been some threats against whistleblowers. That's the other big thing that I noticed through multiple sources, that there have been death threats against people. And so the disclosure thing is coming. It's definitely happening, but at the same time, there is this clear opposition. I mean, it's a clear opposition against people who are working towards disclosure, especially high-level insiders and whistleblowers. There seems to be an orchestrated effort to take certain people down. And so that's why I was so careful when I was there outside of Washington, because it was obvious that there was individuals doing surveillance. But from what I understand, it was good. It was a good group of people, not the other oppositional side. But Yeah, there is definitely a clear coordinated effort to take down and hurt whistleblowers right now, which I also think is really concerning. And that was the other thing I wanted to follow up in Washington about the statute, to see if they were going to work back in some of the whistleblower protections that were taken out in Schumer rounds, because David Grush was, had a lot of intimidation and issues on the job, actually. So I was kind of following up on that statute to see if that was going to happen. And I did hear, yes, they're going to try to work in whistleblower protections into the statute if possible.
So does that put all whistleblowers then on red alert that the government or government officials may be coming after them?
I couldn't determine who was coming after them. Some of it seems to be like people who have an axe to grind, who are just really not stable individuals. And so it's, they're in the limelight. And so people are coming after them that way. There's also a coordinated effort from a couple groups that I can't name that are clearly going after high-level individuals in the whistleblower community, and through smear campaigns on Twitter, and they're tracking that. And from what I understand, some legal agencies may have gotten involved in shutting some of that down, at least tracking them and finding who they are. So it is serious, but it doesn't seem to be necessarily connected. The organizations that are trying to stop disclosure might not be connected to the actual individuals making like death threats. So it seems to be different groups or different individuals. There's definitely a coordinated effort by some of the organizations in the community trying to stop disclosure and smear certain individuals' public perception and public personas. But I'm not going to say their names because I don't want them coming after me either. I've stayed relatively on the safe side in all of this, and I don't really want to get caught up in that either, but you can tell it's going on, obviously.
Okay, so, I mean, the idea that this is happening right now, why would any whistleblower want to come out? I mean, if they're going to potentially lose their credentials, lose their jobs, lose anything, I mean, you're dealing with a force of nature in some of these government agencies that are as powerful as the country itself.
It's really clear that most of these individuals are very upset about what has gone on by the government, the secrecy, the different topics involved in this go beyond what the hearing was able to cover, because the hearing could only do so much. Everybody's thinking there's going to be another hearing, so we have that to look forward to. And more testimony, hopefully deeper testimony about some of these things that the whistleblowers are upset about. It goes beyond, a lot of this goes beyond the safety part of it, because they want the information to come out, mostly because these are our tax dollars and we paid for all these programs. We paid for them out of our tax money and their black budget, and they're wanting to come out and talk about them because they want people to know that they exist. It's time. So that's why. And I do think it's a higher purpose. They're coming from a higher purpose. And there's safety in numbers. So there's a group of them. There's a group of individuals that have testified. There's a group of individuals who have given backup evidence. And then there's a group of individuals who are just being supportive in these efforts. And so there's a solid group supporting one another. So I think that's helping them stay isolated and insulated so that they feel protected to testify and to be in for future hearings.
Well, that's going to be interesting to see if that actually pans on out, because there's a lot of people who I've talked to who are absolutely petrified of what may come of all of this in the next little while here. I mean, do you think there is legitimate fear that is being tossed around?
What kind of fear do you mean? Like through testifying, or?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think that David Grush made a really good case when he testified that he was harassed. He was worried about being on the job. There was some fears about being on the job and people going missing. I remember him saying something like that. So he was treated really well and respected. I think one of the most respected individuals who've come out, but at the same time, he faced a lot of intimidation and fear when he did it. So it's a mixed, I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's mixed. I think that people have to determine that themselves, you know, what their reason is, and then move forward step by step. But there does seem to be a lot of support in that group of individuals to help one another so they don't have to be alone or isolated.
Well, that would be good. That would be nice to see that happen, you know. And you know, I want to know. I'm not going to ask you what you talked about, okay? But word is you may have had a conversation with a whistleblower, and I'm curious, what is it like having that situation happen? I know your conversation was 100% private, off the record. It was between you and this person. I'm just curious to know what is that like, sitting down with a whistleblower and knowing that, you know, this person has knowledge in their brains that if the American public or the world public ever found out about it, it would really change the cycle of what's going on.
There were actually two.
Oh.
Yeah, just so you know. And it was difficult because I had to be very secretive, obviously, like I said, about my movements, not tell people where I was, and then tell people where I was at the last minute in case anything happened. So it was, you know, it was a lot of energy put into like movements, whereabouts, that kind of thing. And then I had to be really careful about sharing information, which is always so hard. You can't talk about anything. So I understand that it's for a greater purpose, not to be able to share any of these conversations until things come out and things become more public, because it does actually harm the effort if you're out there talking about stuff and it's not sanctioned or it isn't approved. And I certainly wouldn't want to hurt anybody by having conversations. But I will say that the conversations that I had with both these individuals validated the stories, validated different parts of their stories, and their stories validate other stories, like stories that David Grush has already submitted to Congress. And so knowing that is really a relief in many ways, that the stories are actually true. And like I said in the opening, some individuals in our community already know the names of the programs. So I was relieved to hear that, you know, that Zodiac is most likely real, you know, and that Zodiac has, you know, that's been out in the community for a long time as a program that was potentially real. And so there's other names of other programs, and that's how they're going to find the evidence, is by sharing the names of the programs so they can go and find the evidence and give it to Congress. So those conversations were really good because they do have evidence that can be tracked through multiple sources. So that was amazing. I thought it was amazing.
Explain to our audience what Zodiac is.
Well, Richard Dolan had a source a long time ago who talked about the Zodiac program as a parallel program, or actually the real program of what we know of MJ12. And so it was this other program that the name was given. And I'm pretty sure Richard Dolan was the first one that Zodiac was given to. Robert Moore might have had some files on it. Is it Robert Moore, the guy who used to do the documents, the MJ12 documents? Is it Robert Moore or is it Robert Brown? Anyway, he's an expert, and he would go and look at all the different stamps on the documents and be able to validate if they were real government top secret documents because of the way they were classified and the way the stamps and everything were on them. So anyway, Richard Dolan gets his contact out of Southern California, supposedly like Lockheed Martin. He contacts Richard. They start sharing conversations, and he tells Richard, hey, you need to go look at this UFO magazine where I write under a pseudonym about these programs. And Zodiac was one of them. And he went under the name Sedge Masters and Greg Halifax. in the UFO magazine. And so that's how Zodiac kind of came into the UFO community, was through Richard Dolan investigating it. And now there's other evidence. There was a lawyer involved. There was a contractor involved. And James Yandoli has talked about it a couple times with Colm Kelleher and George Knapp on different programs, that Zodiac was real. And so they don't, Colm Kelleher and George Knapp don't say Zodiac is real, but that's kind of where it's leading. And so I heard that as well. I got confirmation of that as well from multiple people.
Very cool. Very cool with that. With 2 minutes to go here, what's one of the biggest things you learned about this trip? What's something the public needs to know?
That the programs go back. The programs go back before potentially Eisenhower. That's what I want people to know. That's how far these programs go back in time.
So is this history repeating itself then?
In some ways, it's just fascinating the way some of those old stories are coming to light now. And that's what I want people to know. Like, go back and reevaluate everything that you thought you knew. Start looking at all the old videotapes that came out of Area 51 of all the whistleblowers, the deathbed confessions, and take another look at them. See how they make sense now with what we know about Zodiac potentially being true, and how it makes sense with treaties that we might have made with non-human intelligence and the way those things are playing out now. Look at it through new eyes if you can. Try to detach away from all the stigma of the past, of things being beyond belief. That's what I would want people to know.
That is a very good message. And do you expect any effects to the timeline of when we can expect things to start taking off?
Well, there's this big thing, that David Grush and everybody's talking about. There's this big thing coming in this year, and so we can rely on that. They won't say what it is, but I have a feeling it has to do with different documentaries that are going to come out, plus different legal things that are coming out, and also the statute getting pushed through potentially. Keep your eye on this issue with the implants. That's a really important human right. And who takes the implants, who takes custody of them, where is it going to go? How's that going to work with eminent domain? Keep that in the back of your mind as you're looking at all this legal stuff that's going to come to pass. That's important too.
Yeah, it's going to be very important to see how that plays out. Courtney Marani, thank you for a great UFO report. It is so good to have you back on this show, and I know you'll be back in a couple of nights' time. We got so much more to talk about that we didn't even touch on, and it's great though to see your face and hear your voice. And thank you for bringing the UFO report.
I'm glad I had something big to share.
Yes, a lot in there as well. Courtney Marani with the UFO report as we wrap up tonight's show. Man, what a great show it was. Thank you to Robert Kalil, as well as being just a wonderful guest. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. There we go. That's a good show. That's solid blueberry muffins right there. I like a good blueberry
muffins. That's solid blueberry Pop-Tarts for you, folks. With frosting. Well, I did my best.
You did awesome. You did awesome. And I will just say to our audience on YouTube that I know Courtney personally did really awesome when I had two spies get a hold of me to say, have you talked to Courtney? Have you talked to Courtney? And I'm like, no, she's flying right now. So
don't put her on air. Ixnay on Courtney K.
Oh, it's amazing.
Look, I appreciate them covering my back. I appreciate them sending the warnings in. I appreciate it. I just, I had to be clear that I don't like it when people, spy on me. And so that was one of my concerns, like think about this. But people that are in those types of operations and in that, in that world, they don't give a second thought. But I am appreciative for the warning, but I have nothing to do with Jeremy Corbell. He's not a source. I don't work with him. I don't know him. I have nothing to do with him.
Well, one of the things too that, makes me wonder is how they lump all of us together,
It's interesting. It's so interesting. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here saying, hey, what am I being blamed for? And why am I being
We're getting blamed. We're definitely getting blamed by association, but we're not associated. We're not affiliated. Not affiliated.
Yeah, I hear you there. That is very.
And I just want to say thank you to all my sources and thank you to all the people who are helping me, helping me understand the falsehoods, giving me the program information, how to verify things. I mean, they're helping me. I understand that those people are definitely positive influences now after this trip. They're trying to guide us, so we don't make missteps and mistakes, like Jeremy might be doing right now. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that if he gets in trouble. I doubt it. He's very connected with the FBI, or not the FBI. He's very connected with the powerful people, like George Knapp's folks. They come from Bigelow. That all came up from, OSAP and all that. Those are very powerful people. So I'm sure he's got those kind of connections covering him and helping him out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, the Corbell thing is very important. Okay. And the reason why it's important is because if they truly are doing an investigation on him, then that is going to really affect how the rest of us are allowed to cover this. And it's not going to be just him who has the ball drop. If they do that, it's going to be everybody who has connections. Okay.
Yeah, we're all going to get involved in this crackdown. I mean, that's what the warning was about, that there's a crackdown happening. And so be on the right side of things. And I was initially thinking when Burchett came out and said there's disinformation being sent out into the UFO community, I thought he was talking about Sean Kilpatrick maybe, and how damning would that be if Burchett is going on the record saying former Arrowhead is leaking, disinformation in the community. But I was told, no, that wasn't the case, that it was most likely Jeremy Corbell. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, because Burchett has this longstanding relationship with him, understanding ufology, really, and to give the right questions to ask during that hearing and everything. He was a major source for them. So if that's the case, then that's also really concerning. So yeah, I think we'll learn more. Especially after we've done this, because I just went out and basically said, hey, everybody, pay attention, you know. So now people are going to be aware. So I'm sure there's going to be clapback, and people are going to say, "Oh, he's fine. He's not in trouble," because I already sent a note out before I went to the East Coast saying, "Hey, I think we should be concerned about these videos that he's leaking and where he's getting them from." And somebody came in who was at the Soul Symposium like I was, and they said, "Oh, he's obviously fine." Like that goes without saying that he's fine. But now I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know that.
First off, I just want to say thank you and hello to all the agents and agencies that are listening in tonight. You know, we thank you for tuning in. Please hit subscribe, ring that bell, because we're here 7 days a week. And please know that if you want to give us a call, you already have the phone number. You already got it. So give us a call sometime if you want to chat. And
Thank you, Patriots. Thank you, Patriots.
I love that segment. When I get to do that, there's something about that that just makes me laugh.
Well, I thought you were joking. Okay. I mean, I actually thought that was a joke. I didn't think that they listened to the actual program. You know, I was like, haha, but
no, that's
they actually do listen.
Yes.
I have found out.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun when all of a sudden your phone lights up because Courtney's stirring up the shit in the East Coast.
No, I didn't know we could say that, but yeah.
Well,
I would have said that a couple times if I thought I could have already. Yeah.
We can say anything we want now because we're off the radio side.
There's so much information. I just hope we're going to be able to. I really hope we're going to be able to break some of it. I really do. I'm crossing my fingers. And I hope this program was like a step in the positive direction to show them that I'm not going to blow it up.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few months because my sources are telling me that summertime is supposed to be red hot when a lot of things may come down. And, you know, what those are, I'm not allowed to know, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. And I don't know what's going to happen, but if it leads to us having some good stories on this show, well, that's what we do.
Well, we surprised some people. I will say that we were like the dark horse in this whole situation where when we got information, it really surprised them that we got it and we got ahead of it. And, that made everybody kind of take notice and say, okay, we need to make sure that they're, understanding that there's a bigger picture happening and that they can be involved in it. But when you do that, you can't be out in front. You can't be out front breaking things immediately, and you have to be more cautious. And I understand that you have to be cautious. So it's a delicate balance, but I could see why people are mistrustful as well, because they think we're being managed. We think we're being managed. And I think that if people can give us a little bit of grace and realize that we're doing the best we can, hopefully we can prove we're trusted allies in the whole disclosure movement and that we'll be able to be included on some of these things.
Well, I'm hoping, man, because if anybody deserves it, we deserve it. We being you, me, the rest of the SOR team.
We work hard. We work hard, and we are in conversations with a lot of people. I still just, like I've told you so many times, Dave, my feeling in this is to try to keep not the whistleblowers, but keep the experiencers top of mind. So when I'm asking questions, I'm always asking about experiencers. Are you an experiencer? Are you looking and watching out for experiencers? And as I see it, the insiders are watching out for experiencers too. So I was relieved to hear that as well, that we have a group of people, watching our backs.
Yeah. Did you gain any trust in these people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did gain trust. I mean, I almost blew up my spot right at the end, but peace was made before I left. So.
Yeah. And it's tough because, you want to be able to come out with the story, even if it's only fragments. And it's like I told one person this weekend, one of the people who got a hold of me about you, and and I
It's
kind of,
made on the Ortney K.
well, I kind of stated, I kind of stated this. I said, I don't understand you guys. I said, my show, I said, number one, I'm a real journalist, so don't keep lumping me into the fake journalist crowd. Okay, number one. I said, number two, I said, when your people, I said, you guys keep telling me to play by the rules. You got to play by the rules, play by the rules. And as a professional journalist, I do play by the rules. But then I see people like you guys going on some podcast with 212 followers and giving shitloads of information that should be dropped on my show, but you guys don't because I played by the rules. And I said, you guys are your own worst enemy. And I said, at what point do I have to stop playing by the rules and start building my own channel? Because all of these other people, they're getting subscribers. They're getting paid off of this. And I'm sitting here waiting, twiddling my thumbs, being a good boy. Right?
Well, there's a long history of it. There's a long history of who the chosen ones are that get to break the stories. And now that I've been kind of on the inside track of looking how that shapes up, I'm just astonished at how who gets handed the story, how the story is crafted, how they go and get different witnesses, how they have to get multiple sources to show those stories are true and give their audience the best information. I think that this is so coordinated and has been coordinated for so long. People don't realize that there is a very clear process for all of this. And if you haven't broken through on that and been on the inside of it, then you just get held on the outside because you haven't proven yourself. And so I know that you've done all that groundwork to take your program to the level that it is. And that's why I support it and want to share what I've learned with your community, because we don't have to worry about that management. It frees us in a whole new way. So I would look at it in a positive way, Dave. You have the freedom, you know what I mean? You have the freedom to run with the things that you want to run with. Now, when you come into that larger barrier with those insiders, then you do have to play by those rules. And as you and I have already seen, there's the way in which they craft that. So you can come in the inside, but then you can't talk anymore. So
I think it is too, like the one person said to me, it's a trust factor thing.
Yeah.
And so I guess some of it we're building that trust. I know they've investigated us, and hopefully I don't ever get stopped at the border for it, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I got to see it firsthand, and I was careful and I called people. I let them know where I was, in case anything happened, in case I got, a pull aside, So I did the best that I knew how to do to make sure that I was safe. But it's not for the faint of heart. It's really not for the faint of the heart. And a couple times I asked myself, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? But I was really doing it for the show, for SOR, SOR and my own research, and to try to share information for people to know that there is a positive side of this and disclosure is happening. But it is coordinated. It's very coordinated. High levels of coordination. It's nuts.
Thank you, Shaq. How you doing, buddy? How's Norway today? Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. It really is going to be interesting because, there's so much. It's mind-numbing. I had a conversation this weekend with Nicole Sakic where, I think she was rounding third heading for home and I was still struggling to get to first base, and
yeah, she's in the stratosphere. She's in a whole nother place. I feel like I'm also just catching up, but she's way ahead.
Any NOAA juicy tidbits from Jules?
She's an excellent researcher. She has great sources. She has, compelling amounts of data and historical information. She connects the dots. It's just an obscene amount of information. She sorts through it all. I mean, she's an incredible researcher. I really value her insights.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all do. Even though she is a weirdo,
Well, weirdo in my world is a good badge of courage. Actually, weirdo means you're all right with me.
Me too.
They love your hair, Dave.
Thank you. It is it's a little all over the place today. But that's okay, But anyways, I guess we're gonna shut this thing down.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Courtney is the new number one.
That's
wow.
Nicole.
You bumped me. I'm down to number 2 now. Or are we sharing? Are we co-number ones? Hold on.
I'm not number 1 over you, Dave. You know that. I'm always
bullshit. That's bullshit. We're co-number ones.
I'll always take a back seat, my friend. I'm a supporter.
No way. Your work has been exemplary, and our audience and everybody in SOR absolutely is so lucky to have you here.
I'll tell you right now, there's a bunch of people in DC listening to you. They sent me notes. They sent me notes when I was still coming back from the East Coast. We're going to listen. I was like, I wonder how many people are tuning in now from the Beltway area that are looking for the scoop. It's interesting.
Well, as long as people hit subscribe, ring that bell, that's all that matters.
That's what I'm going to start saying. Subscribe and ring the bell, my friends.
I mean, hey, we're all in this together. And, I think we got a good team brewing here, and it just makes it so much fun. Hey, Moody Mongol, how you doing?
Yeah,
Stu F. Gerson. Yeah. And Nicole is working her ass off with Grant right now, and there's other people doing their thing, and
I know they are. I can't wait to catch up with them now that I'm home and catch up with what's going on. Yeah, on the Woo train. See how it all converges. I know it converges.
Go back and listen to the replay. Grant Cameron and Nicole Sakich did 6.5 hours of information talk. Started off, I think, at 10 a.m. Pacific, and they went for 6.5 hours right into the football game. And they were dropping great info all over the place. So
I'll have to go listen to it. Yeah.
Go do it.
I will. Hey,
Doug Shelby, we will not quit talking about how great my hair is. Just put my hand through here just to bug Doug a little bit.
I just want to say, Angel Wings, I know it's not a joke, and the targeted energy weapons is something that I'm following up on. I just want you to know that. So I'll continue to track it. I put on my Twitter feed a recent article, I think it came out today, from a writer talking about the energy-directed weapons. So I'll keep following up on that for you as well, just so she knows.
Excellent.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks for being supportive.
Awesome. Courtney, I'll give you a call here in a couple minutes on your phone.
Sounds good. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Courtney Marcassani, everybody. How awesome was that? That was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Gives us a lot to talk about. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to Shaq, Deborah Rooney, Major Lee, Peter Benton, Maggie, Gizmo, Kira, W. Decker, and SOHQTH. Very much appreciate the love. Tomorrow night on the show filming the unknown from Washington State. Lee Strauss will be here. Yeah, that's going to be a good show. He's a brilliant guy. Gets in his vehicle. He's filmed UFOs and other things all over the place, and he's a good one. It's going to be a great show tomorrow night. So tune us on in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, guys. What a great show. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.